Welcome back.
My stream is steady.
Your stream is steady. My stream is good. Welcome back to Twin Humanities. This is episode 59, and I know that because when we were testing out the Audacity stuff, I panicked and went to Google. That's how prepared I was for that.
Captain Planning.
Yeah, anyway, shush you, ginger boy. We have a special guest, which is Christian from Iluvjessicabiel on Twitch. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
I am
Thanks
doing
for having
good.
me.
It is a pleasure to have you here because, honest to God, you are one of my favourite individuals. We have had many giggles while I have watched you smash up innocent people and break up their things. Also on Dark Souls.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
So, Christian Patrick. What was that?
Sorry, I had a mouthful of water at the time. I'm sorry.
This reminds me of that other episode where you called one of your chinchillas a cunt.
Yeah, because he was being a cunt.
Yeah, chinchillas are sometimes cunts.
Yeah.
He's worked out that if he rattles the bars really loud, we pay attention to him because we tell him to shut the fuck up. So he'll sit there and he'll grab them and he'll shake those bars. And I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, "Oh yeah, I heard your dog on the last podcast." Like, it's not a dog. It's a very small squirrel man. And you never know. He might get in a mood tonight. So if you hear rattling suddenly, you know he's woken up.
Or if you just shout "cunt," then we'll know.
Yeah, I mean that is the colloquial term for a chinchilla. A cunt of chinchillas.
I've never known why people don't name their children with more exclamation marks in there. What is it, the Dylan Moran thing where he says like people are always worried about saying the wrong name during sex, but even if you said it in the wrong way, it would sound weird. It'd be like John, John.
Who? But if you say it with enthusiasm, I might have got the name wrong, but John? At least I'm into it.
John?
And Coffee, wouldn't you understand that this is episode 59 if last episode was number 58?
Well, I had to check that because we've done many episodes, and sometimes I kind of try and fudge it and just go like, "Hi, welcome to the one after the previous one." But yeah,
this is an episode.
Yes, following on from the last one. But yeah, I first started chatting with and around Christian on, I think it was True Talent's stream.
Yeah.
Around the time True was all about Dark Souls 2 PvP.
Yeah, back when his streams were, fun and interesting.
Yeah, I love True to bits, but he always seems to be on the culling.
Culling, oh my God, the culling.
It does nothing for me.
What does that mean?
It's some sort of online multiplayer, like a battle royale type.
It's like H1Z1, but they called it the culling. It's a survival game. You get dropped into an area and you fight other players. You have to run around the map, getting various weapons, whether it be an arrow or a pickaxe or a katana or something like that, and just run around trying to survive and avoid the gas.
I'm assuming, can other players be massive dicks to you?
Well, sometimes they can play in teams and such, and it gets a little trolly, but usually it's one-on-one, and you run around the map and you try to kill other people, and upgrade yourself and all that kind of thing. But after a while, all the maps are the same and everything is the same, and there's really no variation other than the name of the person that you killed with your bow. And so, but he's been on it now religiously for ages.
Yeah, and every time I see him on it, the worst thing is that in the back of my head, it brings up that, like, if I could, then I would. I go wherever you may go. Way up high or down low.
So it's basically a Creed episode, right?
You remember The Calling, don't you? They did a song on what was that film where all the ladies dance on tables?
Men in Black 2?
No.
Showgirls?
No, it was one set in a bar.
Oh, Coyote Ugly.
That's the one.
Ugly, yeah.
Yeah, it was the big breakout song from that, and I don't think they had any other hits beyond it. But he got that Eddie Vedder kind of thing going on. But he just sounded like he was being squeezed or picked up at certain points. So it was like, if I could, I'd go wherever you may. I've lost it now.
I do like Eddie Vedder though. He is kind of a badass.
Well, Pearl Jam have been going for long enough that... have you played any Pearl Jam on your stream? I don't remember you have.
Oh, I'm a big Pearl Jam guy, sure.
Spin the Black Circle. Make sure it's on next time. That's
Okay.
a beast. That's a beast.
I like all their older stuff. I mean, I grew up with Pearl Jam. I grew up with 10, and I grew up with Versus and all the early albums. I mean, I remember singing Daughter, back in the day at the top of my lungs in my car. And then I ended up watching, I was on a plane back from Vegas, and I ended up watching the VH1 Classics, and they had a rockumentary on Pearl Jam about how the band formed and how he got his start with the band. And the dude was crazy with their live shows back in the day, doing stage dives and jumping off of he would climb the stage. Like, he would go up in the rafters, up where the lights are, and he would jump 50 feet down into the crowd, and they would catch him. And they would pass him around, and he'd still be singing to the mic, Jeremy. It was like just crazy.
Yeah,
just crazy. And I just really appreciated that backstory. And they didn't give a fuck about anything. Fuck corporate America. Not doing any sponsors. We're not selling out. And they still became wicked popular. And despite all of that, wanting not to be, they are massive. They have their own channel now on Sirius XM. It's called Pearl Jam Radio,
really?
And it's 24/7 of nothing but Pearl Jam songs and live shows. And it's amazing that they've kept their corporate. You never see them pitching Mountain Dew or Doritos or anything like that. But yep, still beloved, and they sell out 50,000 seat arenas. 20 years later, it's great.
I saw them on their first UK tour at Rock City in Nottingham, and at that point I got really into Mother Love Bone as well, like tracking things back. Really fell in love with Mother Love Bone. Plus, it was back in the days before PCs and all that kind of stuff. Mother Love Bone was a double album and was the longest album I had. So in those early days of CJ Bass Sexy Time, I could track every move I made in the bedroom to that album because I wouldn't have to get up and change it.
But it's also, you romanticize things like that too. I remember albums, Patty was talking about getting the DVDs and actually listening to the commentary of the movies. The commentaries and being in there with the actors and what they were reacting to the scenes and stuff. Fight Club, by the way, is a great audio commentary. If you have a DVD of Fight Club, listen to Brad Pitt and Edward Norton talk about the scenes in the movie. It's fascinating. But reading the liner notes to an album, or on the DVD, sometimes they had like a little booklet, and you could read about the songs or how they came up with the lyrics and things like that. And it just makes it more. You seem more in tune with it than just like hearing a little blip of it on the radio or something nowadays. But being able to get behind the scenes and the thought process of the artist, and it just makes it that more special.
Well, I got a book for my birthday along with a record player a few years ago, and this was about a UK DJ called Mark Radcliffe, who's on Six Music over here, BBC Six Music, and he was talking about how he fell in love with music initially, and he was saying before any real exposure like we've got now, where you know the band's inside out, there was a genuine mystique about a band, and that you may well never see them live, but you really trusted a journalist's words because they were essentially creating poetry around a band that might look cool, but you might not hear because their record might not come into sort of a local store, and that mystique still fascinates me as well. There are artists that I've only seen interviewed recently that I've listened to their music for years, and I couldn't tell you what they sound like speaking wise.
Yep.
I only know their music.
Well, it's also kind of weird being in America when I hear the Cranberries, or I listen to the churches and such, and then I hear them speak in their native accents, because when they sing, they lose their accents. Even someone like Adele, doesn't have an accent when she sings, but when they give an interview, they sound like Colin Farrell, and you can't understand a goddamn word they're saying. Like Dolores O'Riordan and Harriet or Wheeler, you can't understand what they're really saying because their native accent just comes right out. And I'm shocked at that when they sing these songs that it's so legible and I can totally understand them. But when they give an interview, I'm just like, oh my God, what did she just say? it takes me like 3 takes to kind of figure out, oh, she just said that, that song was about her grandmother or something. I don't know. But yeah.
You see, I came to love churches through your stream, but the Cranberries I always hated. And the only way I learned to at least appreciate them on one level was when she kind of does that warbling. Just imagine she's falling down a hole.
Would you like to let it linger?
Somebody pointed that out though years ago about what is it? There's a Pink Floyd song where she's like, woo! Somebody pointed out they couldn't listen to it because it just sounds like she's falling eternally down a massive hole, which it still makes me giggle.
One of the things that Coffee and I also bonded over, I think, because he's like near or around Manchester, is our love of Morrissey and the Smiths. I was playing that on my channel. I remember Coffee Jesus made a comment about it, and I was like, yeah, I grew up on all that stuff, man. I love that guy.
But yeah, he's so miserable.
Oh,
which makes him adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so... I can't bear
We
him.
love the tragic hero.
He makes
Do you
me
know
sad,
what?
and I don't appreciate sad.
Do you know what Morrissey eats? The only thing Morrissey eats.
I'll probably
It's probably something vegetarian.
Some
It's probably some raw broccoli or some crap.
No,
yeah.
it's better than that. Buttered toast. That's all he eats.
but that's not a balanced diet. Of course you're miserable. Your
Dunno.
pH balance is all off.
Right,
I
get
just-
a pepperoni pizza.
Eat
for
an
Christ's
apple.
sake.
No. I just like the thought of him being in this really flash house, and then there's just this big flame that and he's like, there is a light that will never go out. And he's just like toasting bread over the top of it and just lolling to himself as he crunches through it.
But you're right, he is absolutely miserable. But that's what makes him lovable. The tragic hero of Morrissey.
The fact he hasn't got any... I would have toast tonight, but I haven't got a loaf of bread.
That's very good. But I like that. There is footage on YouTube of an old children's TV show where they interview the Smiths on the top deck of a double-decker bus,
Oh,
and they just go like, "Why are you so sad?" just like asking these really childlike questions. He's just like,
Can
well,
you imagine the Smiths on Sesame Street?
it would be genius.
Oh.
Morrissey doing near and far with Elmo, just like really like scattering into the distance, going near, and then.
But it's so beautiful out, Morrissey. Why are you so sad? The sun is out. Fuck the sun. Fuck the sun. Fuck the trees. Goddamn. None of that makes me happy. Lock me in a dark room, with toast. That's it. Maybe a glass of water. That's all you need.
Thing is, he does sound like a Muppet when you describe him like that.
There is
A little
something
bit.
quite Muppety about his voice, even though I love him. And you can kind of imagine, like, hey there, Morrissey. I can't quite do my Kermit because I was laughing so that. Hey there, Morrissey. No, it's on. This is going well. People are going like, I'm sure this was the Dark Souls show.
I'm so glad Christian's here.
Yeah, So let's distill you back to your early nucleus. Woohoo! Oh God, I'm just going to branch out from here because we had this woman.
Wow, that
today.
lasted 8 seconds. Well done.
Didn't you have anything scripted, for Christ's sake? I thought you wrote something down.
I have everything scripted, but I'm enjoying this too much. This woman came in today, and she was with a friend, and she was saying some like really bizarre stuff, like being quite glowing about a friend. And I just said, like, there's an incredible dichotomy between the words that you're saying and your friend's terrified reaction. And she was like, "Oh, that's a big word." I was like, I'm maybe a barista, but I read books.
Right?
No, honestly,
Dichotomy is a great word.
it is. She was being disingenuous. Woot woot.
Oh, fuck me. How very loquacious of you.
I know he's on a 3-syllable tear right now. Give him a break.
Yeah, I've had, to be fair,
You don't get paid by the word, all right?
I've had far too much cold brew today, and I'm also now on a beautiful blonde roast, a lovely veranda. So I'm feeling quite giggly.
Blonde roast. I thought that was like some sort of like dinner that you put in the oven.
I thought you were going to be filthy with that, sir. It was the 80s, man. It was a different time. LA was like different, but starting to itch down here, and my guitarist says I should really go see a doctor.
That's right. They got medicine for that.
So yeah, going back to the general the distilling to the general nucleus. What were you like as a child? Be it into like books, music, toys. What occupied your time in those early years?
I read a lot. I was a terrible student, but I tested really well. I remember, elementary school here, I was, how did they say, incorrigible? I always thought I knew more than my teachers. I tested, like, those standardized tests for reading comprehension and arithmetic. I did very well, but when it came to the actual day-to-day paying attention in class, I wasn't so much. I was disruptive and always talking to the girls or writing notes and doing everything that would just annoy the teacher. I was kind of a troll even back then. But they had to keep me around because I tested well and I was smart and all those type of things. But I remember when you had those, do you have parent-teacher conferences, like when your teacher goes to the school and talks to your teacher and they give you a report about how, my desk was always out in the hall. It's so embarrassing for my parents to come to parent-teacher night and like, oh, where does, Christian sit? Oh, well, he was not behaving, and so his desk is out in the hall, but his test grades are great. That's kind of how I was, but it was because my dad made me read, and I always read the sports page or a soccer magazine, and in German, the Kicker. So I grew up reading and just building a vocabulary and being incorrigible, gregarious, obnoxious, all those types of things. But I was into comics. I read a lot of comics.
Yeah, what sort of stuff?
Yeah.
All the Marvel and DC stuff, man. I love superheroes. Green Lantern was my favorite. I hated Batman because of Robin. Couldn't stand either of them. Wonder Woman was fascinating. Superman, grew up with Justice League, all fighting together. Always thought Aquaman was trash.
No.
I mean, summoning fish to help you out. He's only good in the water.
How dare you?
Annoying. No, who likes Aquaman, please?
I grew up with Aquaman. I had this dinner mat, and on one side of the mat was this the origin of Aquaman. And on the other side of this was this amazing picture of Aquaman and Aqualad riding the seahorse. And it was only in probably about 10 years ago that I realised that all this artwork was by a lady called Ramona Fredon. And in the 60s, she was pretty much the only female artist in comics. And that she worked under tremendous sexism. But she really fought her ground and held her own. She was held up as near and equal to Kirby, and her run on what is it? This I want us to. It's something that ties into to Batman. I can't think of the name of the character, but I picked up one of the DC archives recently, the black and white ones. And it reads really well. The artwork is tremendous as well. But like I say, it was only in the later years when I started trying to find this piece of art that I realised it was Ramona Fredon and started catching up with the story. But yeah, I loved Aquaman as a blighter, I must admit.
Yeah, but the only Aquaman image I can bring to my mind, on a slightly different tack, is a shot of the front of the Jimmy Olsen comic, and you've got Aquaman and Jimmy Olsen both crawling along the ground in the desert, but Superman is stood in front of them holding a single jug of water, and only one of them can have it. Fuck you, Superman, you dick.
Superman was a bit of a dick in those days.
There's an entire website called superdickery.com, which is just comic covers of Superman being an absolute chode. Like one of the first ones is Lois Lane's in space and she's in a spacesuit, but Superman's broken her air hose and she's like, "Oh no, he won't plug it back together unless I agree to marry him. Oh no." He's a dick.
Old school.
Typical.
Or there's one of him and like young Clark Kent, like young Superboy and young Bruce Wayne, using a time machine to look in the future like, "Oh wow, in the future we'll be friends and we'll fight crime together. Don't tell him his parents die, you dick." Jeez.
Yeah, the black and white thing that I was on about was Metamorpho. She drew, and it was really good. And who's the who's the lead guy in? I want to say Dawn of the Dead, but it's not. It's a horrible. Ash from
Ash and Evil Dead.
Yeah, Evil Dead. Yeah. Who's the actor that plays?
Bruce Campbell.
Sorry,
Bruce fucking Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his real name.
If you read the character of Metamorpho in the voice of Bruce Campbell, it still flat out works. It's fantastic. But yeah, it's really cool. So what kind of what were your favourite sort of comic runs then? Were there any stories that you particularly remember? Or
Green Lantern. I read all the Hal Jordan stuff and then the crossover. I read all the Green Lantern stuff. Loved Oliver, and all the Flash stuff too. They were all kind of friends, if you will, and they had a lot of crossovers. So I really got into Flash, Green Arrow, and Green Lantern. Green Lantern being my favorite. I have figures and stuff in my house. Still,
were you there for the whole parallax thing? Mm-hmm. What was that like at Ground Zero? Because I've only read about that and how people were upset.
Dude, that was almost 20 years ago. I can't remember that shit.
Really? Because that burns into my soul.
That was circa 1990, 1993. I can't even remember back that far. But yeah, I remember it. I remember the parallax thing. It had a white cover on it. He turned evil, and I don't remember what happened. And then Ground Zero and the whole universe changed, and then you had a new Green Lantern. It was weird.
I do.
And now you have a gay Green Lantern, so it comes full circle.
I do remember the issue before all the parallax stuff started, which was on the tail end of there was a big Superman story where
he died for the fifth time.
Yeah, it was. Was it Coast? Is it Coast City? Was turned into a giant engine, and
Coast
the
City.
whole,
Yep.
Yeah, the whole of the city was wiped out, and he wandered through the wreckage and realised that he'd lost everyone, every memory, everything that he'd ever known, and used the power of the lantern for his own purposes, which he shouldn't do.
Correct.
To kind of bring back the spirit of the dead, and recreated the city, and went walking with the first girl that he ever loved, and spoke to his father, and his father, who was always really harsh with him, told him that he was proud of him for the first time. And just went through sort of all these memories until the ring ran out, and then was summoned to Oa for trial, and that was the point where he snapped. And that issue was absolutely superb.
The feels, man.
Yeah, it really, really hit home. And for all the people that reacted against parallax and stuff, well, I don't know. That was tremendously personal to me at the time. I read it, and even I remember breaking up with someone and regretting it, and kind of photocopying those pages, but kind of when he was talking to his ex, replacing her name with the girl that I'd broken up with, and was regretting it, and using that as a way to say sorry. So it kind of doubled into the real world as well. So yeah, it's a big one for me. Plus I really liked Kyle as well afterwards. I thought Kyle Rayner was...
Kyle was the best. He was the best Green Lantern, I think. Just because he was so new, and he was finding his way. He got this ring, he didn't know what to do with it. And the first, 20 comics, I think that was 93, 94, 95, something like that. Kyle's run, I think it lasted almost 100 issues. But the first 20 or so of him learning his powers and the backstory and the wonderment, right, of how he was coming into his own and learning it was pretty special, and I recommend that to anybody, because that was about the time where I graduated from college and went out into the real world and started having to work, and it was kind of like me. I saw myself in him. He had all these new superpowers, but I had all these new freedoms. I was out of the house, I was on my own, I could do what I wanted when I wanted to do it. But with that comes a price too. You stay out till 4 a.m. with no supervision, and you got to work the next morning at 8 o'clock. There's consequences for your actions, right? So it was kind of I couldn't wait for the next episode, see what he was going to get into and how he was going to learn to be responsible with his powers. And then me trying to learn the same thing as a young adult.
I think there's the thing with Kyle as well, that where I was always fascinated, because Kyle was an artist, so all the things that he created were very technical and very visual.
Yeah.
And whereas I grew up with Hal Hal created boxing gloves.
Right.
Whereas
it was
know,
brute
Kyle
force.
Because he was Instinct, wasn't he? He was the
it was a fighter pilot.
Fighter pilot, yeah. Did you ever see the Green Lantern animated series?
I did not watch it. No.
Seriously, track that down, man. It's the best Hal Jordan. Just really, really superb stuff. They play him purely as a cowboy, purely as the fighter pilot, the man that goes on instinct, and they set the whole thing up with beyond our galaxy. There are people that aren't trained on Oa because it's so far away, and the rings are trying to train the Green Lanterns themselves, but are failing to do it to a degree, and Green Lanterns are getting killed. And all of these rings are coming across the galaxy back to Oa, and they can't get to them. And the Guardians try to summon a meeting and basically say, like, it's far too far away. We can't get there. And Hal goes to, I think it's Ganther, and basically says, like, we've got to do something about this. I don't care where it is. And Ganther sort of like is really mischievous. He's going like, well, I'd be sure not to tell you about that hyper ship that's located on floor 3. And he was like, and you definitely shouldn't go and do that. And so he's playing into like the man that he chose as Green Lantern in the first place. And there's this wonderful moment on there where he believes that the more Green Lanterns are going to die, and there's an artificial intelligence on board the ship. And he just speaks to the artificial intelligence like beautifully. He calls her Aya, and he says, "Look," he says, "How can we get across the galaxy?" And she's saying, "Oh, it'll take all these, take something like 3 days of calculations." He was like, "How can we get it?" He just says like, "Aya, is there any way that we can do it quicker than that?" And she was like, "Well, I'll have to give you manual control." And they just go into hyperspace, and he just uses his fighter pilot training, and he's just going, and it's so wonderful. And like the relationship with him talking to this artificial intelligence as if it's a human being, and her becoming more human because he talks to her as a person. Honestly, the whole of the 2 series are just genius. Please track it down. I think it's on US Netflix. But right. I think if you're an old school Hal Jordan fan, you'll love that take, because it's exactly as the movie should have been. The opening like pilot episode and 2-parter is exactly what they should have done with the movie, because the man is a square-jawed hero. He's a cowboy, but they play into the aspect of Hal Jordan before he became a hero, and I've not really seen that leaned into as well as they do.
Shall I let myself down massively here? Shall I let myself down massively right now?
What?
Do you know who my favourite Green Lantern is?
Go on.
It's Guy Gardner. Because he's a dick splash, and that's why I like him.
I thought you were going to say because he's a ginger.
There's that too, but he's got that stupid like puffer jacket thing, and he's just a colossal prick all the time. Like, that's what I want. Like, you know, big important stories are fun, but sometimes I like a bit of a dick splash.
Guy Gardner.
He's awful, and that's why I like him.
Oh my god!
Taken out with one punch by Batman.
You want to talk about
that being from, was it Justice
superhero?
JSA, wasn't it? The international one they did, the Justice League International. Yeah, those books were really fun. Like, and then you just got Blue Beetle and that going one punch, one punch.
John Mark DeMatteis, one of my biggest writing heroes, was involved in that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that book, and I like Guy Gardner because he's just awful. And then he turned into Warrior for a while or something. It was like, that's really terrible.
Wasn't Guy Gardner part of the Teen Titans or something?
No,
I don't know.
No, probably not.
He might have like forced his way in once, because that seems like the kind of thing he'd do. Like, I'm older than you, I'm in charge. That sounds like the kind of thing Guy Gardner would do.
But there was a lot of renewal around superhero comics at that time. But there was some really good stuff, like you were saying about Green Arrow when they replaced Ollie with his son.
Yeah,
he was fantastic.
Very
good. I wish they bring that back. And the artist that was doing those issues, was it DiMaggio? His name, or Rodolfo DiMaggio? That was the guy. Went on to storyboard like Star Wars and like moved into Hollywood and stuff. Very, very talented man. Lost to comics.
speaking of Star Wars, I heard you talking about The Force Awakens.
Oh, God.
And one of you two guys said it was a 4. And someone gave it a 6. And you're like, no, it's nowhere near that. It's shite.
I think it was me that said it was a 4.
I
was
actually
a 6.
I liked it. I liked it.
Everybody loved it. But it was literally, I wrote down 10 things about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Apart from Poe Dameron. I could have had a Poe Dameron movie. He was great.
Like, I came out the cinema, I said to Laura, like, if you don't like Poe Dameron, like, we can't be friends. Like, the best part of that film was Poe motherfucking Dameron.
Absolutely. I love Poe. I even like Daisy. I liked Daisy Ray. I liked her as an actress. I liked her role. I liked her as being that feminine hero, not knowing her powers. That whole thing kind of. I'm very interested in watching her grow into, this Jedi Knight.
Well, like,
I can
imagine
imagine
the characters, but like just the way they combine them all together. It's like, oh, like
Finn can take a
characters.
shit. Finn sucked. I hated Finn.
it just seemed like a kind of blender. Like they went like, hey, so do you remember that Princess Leia?
I hated her too in that movie. She was terrible.
Do you remember like there was the thing where they were saying that maybe she's Luke's sister and maybe she's got Jedi powers. What if she was a young girl and she got Jedi powers? Oh my God, I think we've got our character.
What's wrong with that though?
It just seems so conniving and so considered. It's not the sheer joy of writing. It's just putting down things that people like and just smishing them together. And I'm just surprised that emo kid didn't chop somebody's hand off at a certain point. Because Jesus Christ, he was terrible.
Well, Kylo Ren, Adam Driver's a terrible actor. He was so miscast. I hated that so much. I didn't like his costume. I didn't like the way he acted. I didn't like anything about him. It was he did not bring any menace to the role at all. And that's if he's trying to take Darth Vader was menacing. He had the sound, he had the effect, he had the stature,
and
he
could
walked
barely
into
move.
a room, and that was what was imposing about him. He was a fire hydrant walking around in this very menacing tone, and he could kill you with his. It was great. He had a presence about him. Adam Driver is like the kid brother you just kicked the crap out of, and he didn't give any respect to at all, and he did not steal any scenes for me at all. He didn't carry anything. He's a pushover.
They showed how shite Kylo Ren was with that Saturday Night Live sketch where he was going undercover to see what people thought of Kylo Ren around like the Death Star.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, that was exactly what the character was like. And hated it. Proper hated it.
I also didn't like the fact that Luke was in the movie for like 4 seconds all the way at the end. Did
you see that that Vine though? With the All By Myself Vine.
No.
Have you seen it? There's this it's like a GIF. It's about 30 seconds long. Where when spoilers for the end of Force Awakens if you haven't seen it, but where Ren is in the film holding out the lightsaber to Luke. It's a microphone, and when it goes onto him, they put like superimpose a mouth over the top, and he's like, "All by myself," and they cut back to Rey, and instead of having like the microphone, she's got a lighter. All by myself anymore, and it's just the camera swinging around and stuff, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, in actuality, that stupid hold shot of her holding that lightsaber, it must have lasted for 3 minutes.
I know. I'm surprised. I'm surprised he didn't. He was like trying to make her say something, like just say something.
Right. Hi.
Yeah.
Make a proper introduction. My name is.
Grammatically, she might have been taken aback that it was him, that she was standing in front of him. But they swung that camera around far too much, and I'm reminded again by the aspect that I was worried about before seeing the film, in that I've maybe barring enjoying the first Star Trek remake, I don't think J.J. Abrams makes good films.
Oh, you don't like Star Trek stuff?
I thought the first one was all right. The second one was bollocks.
Second one was one of the worst films I've seen. It
what
was bad.
What was that film where it was essentially like he was giving a blowjob to the ghost of Steven Spielberg?
Men in Black 2?
No. What was it called? The one
Cloverleaf?
with the... Huh?
Cloverleaf? I don't know.
No. It was like a big monster movie, but it was really, really terrible. And I've heard people defend it to the hilt, but it's fucking awful. Fill in for me. I'm going on Google.
Okay.
What?
But no, I think Luke got lazy too.
Mind. Yeah.
No, Luke got lazy. Like in that scene, why does he have the metal hand? He's had all that time. Couldn't find a glove. Couldn't put the skin back on. Why does he still have the creepy metal hand? Why?
I don't know. Maybe amongst all of that grass, he just likes and dullness and living on like a spike.
Yeah.
As he does.
It's lazy. He's fat. He's like the guy that doesn't expect any visitors, that has pizza boxes everywhere. He's still in his bathrobe. You know, he just never doesn't take care of himself. He's unshaven. That's why he still has the metal hand.
He lives by the sea and there's all that sea spray. It didn't appear to have rusted at all.
No rust.
I mean, he looked after it.
Right. The film I was searching for was Super 8. Which is super wank.
Oh, that was a terrible movie.
I know.
Kids, they videoed that thing with their little camera. The kids.
This, fucking awful. And I didn't realise that he wrote this particular film, but this to me says it all. He was the writer of Armageddon, a film where they thought it would be easier to plant. What was it? What was the thing with Armageddon that they wanted to plant? That was it.
A nuclear bomb on a comet.
Yeah, it would be easier to get a group of miners and teach them to be astronauts than to get some astronauts and teach them to drill a fucking hole.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Tell me about how you got into games, sir.
Oh my God. I had an Atari, played Pac-Man, and I spent hours at the arcade when I was a kid. We had something called putt-putt golfing games. You had mini golf, and inside was the arcade with all the different games and such. And I would, I had a paper route, and I would, take my $20-$40, and I had my dad drop me off for the day. And I wouldn't play any mini golf. I'd go and get like $40 worth of tokens, and I would just sit there and play video games all day, whether it be Galaga or the little volleyball game with the little fat people. I played Shinobi till my fingers bled.
Oh man.
Shinobi and Tempest and all those. Duck Hunt was still popular back then, but I played all those video games, and I would waste a Saturday for 10 hours just playing arcade games. And that's pretty much how I wasted my weekends, is playing video games with my mates and just saying, oh, let's do that. And they had a Star Wars game out too, where you could be a TIE fighter and you'd go and you'd shoot stuff, and it was that's how I got my start. And I had graduated from the Atari to the Nintendo, and I played Zelda, saved the princess, and I thought I was this big hero, and that was great. And then you graduate.
Was that the NES or the SNES?
That was the 64 too. Yeah, that had the NES.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. But the game that really got me into games was GoldenEye.
Okay.
That James Bond shooter, and trying to kill that Russian. At the end of the game, I just remember it took me like 20 hours to beat that to beat the final boss in GoldenEye, and I was so happy when I did it. I ran upstairs and and they're like, what is the world happened? Why are you so happy? And I'm just like, I beat this video. And they're like, oh, really? You beat a video game? Good job. I'm like, really? You try it. Dad, you get on the controls. You think they're so smart. And you want to just fluff that off. I'm like, I'm probably the only one in the world who beat this game, because back then you didn't have social media or Twitter. And I was so proud of myself. And I'm like, I was the only one of my friends that actually beat the game and, got through it. And I was very, very happy and pleased. And that got me to, play other, RPGs and stuff. And then Tomb Raider. We talked about Tomb Raider Coffee Jesus.
We did indeed, yeah.
The original.
Because just down the road from me, as I showed you, Lara Croft Way is near me, but just down the road from me is where Core Design used to be. And the city next to the one that I'm in is where Rare is as well.
You're blessed. That picture you sent me of Lara Croft Way with her out, it's very nice. But I grew up Tomb Raider. I played Doom, I played Quake, and all those types of games. But the Tomb Raider series definitely made me want to play the game. Like it was fun, it was whatever. But those games got me invested into video games. I really, I'd wake up in the morning and then I was like, okay, I got to beat this. This is a boss. I got to go explore this area. How do I figure out this puzzle? And then I played Fallout. And
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And Fallout 3.
So onto PCs then, quite quickly from there.
I was. And then Fallout 3, I spent about 300 hours in the wasteland playing Fallout 3. But I would wake up in the morning and be like, oh my god, I have so many missions. I'm so busy today. He wants me to do this. They were almost like real people. Like I would be letting them down. Like if I failed the mission, and did like 13 missions, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so busy today. I got to cancel all my appointments. I got to go save these people. I got to go hunt for this, and I did. And that was before I discovered guides. Or, the forums and all the different, the Reddits where they showed you all the secrets and things. And, here I am running around on my own volition, exploring all on my own, figuring things out on my own without any help. And then, you have those eureka moments where you're like, oh, there's actually people talking about this stuff and writing about it. And they have guides and secrets. And then you're like, oh, I did that. I figured that out. And you feel validated. Right, you have that sense of validation, like, oh, I did this all myself. I didn't need the guide, or I didn't need the help. I think today things are so easy with all the information you get. You have to say, like on your Twitch stream, blind playthrough, don't spoil anything for me. You didn't have that back in the day. There were no guides, there were no rooms, there was no, you had your buddy. And he knew dick all as much as you did. He didn't have any inside information. It didn't have the secrets or how to unlock this or unlock that. So I think back then, I was a better gamer when I was 16 than I am now. To be honest with you.
I think that's the case for most people because they just play the one games and just become exceptional with them.
Yep.
And you're getting those folks that have gone back to like Ninja Gaiden on NES and they were like, how did I even get past the first level?
How did I beat Contra? How did I beat Double Dragon? I mean, some of those
I get
bosses
that with Crash Bandicoot sometimes.
Right?
Like, I used to be good at this. Why can't I do?
Even the early Ratchet and Clanks. I mean, you still... Mega Man, for Christ's sake. Some of those platform games are really hard. Castlevania's difficult. It's a hard game now. I go back and I'm just like, how did I beat this when I was a kid?
Did you ever play this a Nintendo DS game that's a real lost gem called Retro Game Challenge? Did you ever play it?
Never played it. Never had a DS.
It's basically you're this kid, and in the modern day this guy thinks that games were better when he was younger, and he takes you back in time to play the games that he played, or like variations of the games that he played when he was a kid. And the top screen is the television. The bottom screen is you sitting next to a younger version of him who actually thinks he's a dick as he grows older. And you play these individual games, and he sets you challenges. And every now and again, a magazine will come through the door with hints and tips and like secret levels and stuff, and showing you how to access them. And the further that you get on the game, like you buy more and more games and you play them, and like I say, the magazines keep coming through. It's a proper hidden gem if you like looking back at those days and sort of appreciating just how good it was.
I absolutely do. Like, to continue, like, today's gamer has so many crutches and advantages over, 90s gamer, because information just wasn't accessible. And
90s gamer had to wait for the Tips magazine to come out once a month.
Or you had to call the hotline for $2 an hour, right? Well, some
you were
guy
saying about this.
looked it up in the
those.
book, right? Yeah. Well, we had that here.
Or you buy the Final Fantasy IX strategy guide, and all it has in it is links to a website, which now doesn't exist.
Right.
It's the worst book, like, it's the worst guide that has ever been released for anything.
Well, they were saying on, it was 8-4 Play that in Japan, game guides didn't come out until about 9 months after the game had come out.
Yep.
Because they wanted people to play the game and discover things for themselves, and then pick up the guide, which would further another run through and to see the things that they didn't notice or
what they missed.
Or bits that they were stuck on. But guides launching at the same time as games now is apparently still considered quite a strange thing to see in Japan.
You'll never have those moments back. I mean, that's why I played Dark Souls 3 when it got released. And I love the Souls series. And you have 4 opportunities to have those very special moments. Your first run of Demon Souls, your first run of Dark Souls, your first run of Bloodborne, your first run of Dark Souls 2, and your first run of Dark Souls 3. You have 5 opportunities to do that. And you ruin them by seeing bosses, seeing gameplay, reading, the guides and going through. You don't develop an appreciation for the game. I mean, anybody who did their first Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2 playthrough while reading the guide, going along with the game, that you lose the entire point of enjoying that game. It's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to die. You're supposed to try and retrieve your souls 100 times and be like, oh my god, I just lost 20,000 souls. How am I going to upgrade my weapon? How am I going to do this? And figuring out the best path. You can save all that, the complete playthroughs for the 3rd or 4th time that you go through. But the wonderment of enjoying a game the first time, going in blind, trying to figure it out yourself, and the sense of accomplishment you get when you beat that boss that you've died to 20 times, and not saying, oh, you can cheese him with a bow from here if you stand at this angle, or he's weak to fire. Figuring that out to yourself gives you character, I think. And those guys who just go through the guide and breeze right through and all these other things, even speedrunners piss me off sometimes because they don't enjoy the full game. They run through the enemies. They find the easiest path. They always, cut corners and shortcuts and use glitches and all these other... They don't play the games as intended. And they don't. It just annoys the piss out of me sometimes when,
I was saying with with Demon Souls when I first went through it, it genuinely blew my mind. But I didn't. I fell in love with the atmosphere, the design, the mechanics. I was fascinated by this world. It brought on memories of how much I loved Ray Harryhausen stuff as a kid, and it was this huge enigma. And as much as I played the game and kept playing it and kept staring at it, it felt like I could never quite get a measure of it, and that's what I loved. Yep. And when I went into Dark Souls, I didn't know there was really any more story than Demon Souls. It was, the mistakes, in inverted commas, that I made on that first run of Dark Souls, that's my best playthrough. I ain't got a fucking clue what I was doing. If I'd have been listening to people with that, I fell in love eventually with the Demon Spear, which is considered a shite weapon. But I love it.
I had the most fun with it,
Yeah. I found that degree of push with it. And even when I got an early drop of the Black Knight Greatsword, I went around Undead Burg God knows how many times to level up to strength level 23 to be able to hold it.
To wield it, yeah.
And then just fucking glided through levels that other folks, really struggled with. But I always think it's a big sign in that regard that anybody that starts playing with Drakesword has been told to shoot a fucking dragon's tail 100 times. Nobody in a million years would do that. And I think a lot of people came on board with Dark Souls after, hearing word of mouth and stuff, but they then got drawn into all these stories of characterization and the way that the storytelling unfolds, and these brilliant storytellers on YouTube that wove these tales together. But I think that part of the hate around Dark Souls 2 is the fact that these people came to Dark Souls 2 with a fresh slate in the same way as all the rest of us were. Those stories weren't found yet, or they weren't digging for them, and it seemed a lesser experience because that hadn't been mined.
No, I mentioned that I grew up a big reader, and I read a lot of choose-your-own-adventure novels.
Oh my God! Right, here we go. This is another thing. Games Workshop and Ian Livingstone were 10 minutes from the school that I went to. Like a lot of the kids at schools, mums used to work in the factory that made then lead figures for the Games Workshop stuff.
Ooh.
And those were the kind of the offcuts of those were traded in the school playground.
Right.
They're all plastic now, obviously, but yeah. Games Workshop and Ian Livingston stuff. Yeah, it's cracking. Warlock of Firetop Mountain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Death Trap Dungeon was my first.
Death Trap Dungeon, yeah.
That was my first.
Fucking hell, man. You see,
Yeah.
I knew you two would get on.
We're all a bunch of nerds, but choose your own adventure.
Baron Scumbit is a worm.
Figuring it out, choose this consequence. You make this decision. Go to page 86, and that's where I enjoy the RPGs of Dark Souls. I can choose what armor to wear. I can choose who to rescue. I can choose what NPC to kill. I can go around and I can mix and match and kind of create my own environment. I'm trying to beat
You
these
can
enemies.
choose to go to page 86 and walk into the skeletons you can't kill.
Something like that, right? 100
That's page
times
86
trying to
down there
figure
now.
out that I need a divine weapon, or to actually kill the skeletons. How many times did I try to go through that area? I'm like, why won't these guys just die? Just die already! I killed you 100 times.
I want you to go to YouTube and look up an old UK TV show called Nightmare with a K, where there'd be a dungeon master, and they bring these kids in who would advise another kid who was walking through this dungeon with a helmet on that he couldn't see out of, and they would describe the room to him, and there'd be a puzzle in that room, and it was early CGI stuff. So the kid might be standing in front of like a magic, like giant axe that was swinging across the room. He'd be like, "Go carefully, children." He'd be like, really. They got like this Shakespearean actor to be like the guy that advised the kids and stuff. But you'll love it. You will. I think you'll super nerd out on it.
Oh, there goes my Sunday.
Yeah, it's big time your scene.
Plus, it's always good when you get a kid who just doesn't understand simple English as well. Like, walk forward 2 steps and they walk forward 4. You're like, what are you doing?
You walked right into the X.
Literally, they'll stand there like there's a slot in the wall. Go, walk towards the slot. You got shot by an arrow. You're dead. Good job, idiot.
They'd also bring in like monsters into the arena as well. Like, hurry quickly, children, and then you get like. Move to the left, and you see like this kid that could barely stand because he couldn't see out this helmet. He's been told like a fucking witch was coming in from like the other side. Walk forward, avoid the axe. And of course, like in the kid's head, he must have been like, "Oh, I'm gonna die." He was tops. So which Souls game did you play first, and how did you?
I played them all in succession.
I
played them all in succession. I played Demon Souls first when it came out. I think it was 2007, and then Dark Souls. No, Demon Souls came out in 2009.
Yeah.
You have Dark Souls came out in 2011. DKS 2 came out in 2014. And then you had Bloodborne that came out last year, and then you have Dark Souls 3 now. But I got my start on Demon Souls. And
Did you bounce off it at first? Because many people do.
No. I was addicted.
Oh.
Brother.
I was addicted. I must have gone through the Tower of Latria about 100 times.
So what brought you to Demons in the first place? Was it reviews, or was it did it tie into all those old things like the Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yeah, it was Choose Your Own Adventure, but it was told that it was the hardest video game like ever. I got caught in the hype of saying that someone telling me that it was super difficult. You're gonna hate it. It's terrible. You're gonna be so frustrated. And I was like, bring it on, please. I want that experience. I want to test myself. I want to see, that I can do this and prove something to myself. Because you grew up playing video games, you think you're good. I know stuff, and I want to take on the challenge. And that's what
it kind of made history then, I think, as well. That it was the first game to go to #1 in America without any marketing budget or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There's something funny about American kids. So they did a poll, and they interviewed all the kids in the the American rankings. In English and spelling and the arithmetic and science. They're like 50th. They test so poorly. The #1 thing that Americans they were #1 in confidence.
Takes you a long way.
They're terrible and all the academics and everything else, but number one in confidence. So that doesn't surprise me. I just wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it. So yeah, that kind of fits in. I mean, you say you give an American a challenge and tell them what they can't do. They're out to prove that they can do it and they can play it.
I'm going to tie in loosely to that with one of my favourite. I don't even know if this is true, but it's a fantastic story. That there was this confidence about American education, and they highlighted on this map different colours relating to the standard of testing education across America, and the worst of these colours was no colours at all. It was white, and Texas was white. And they were talking about learning another language, and this politician stood up and just went, "Well, if English was good enough for Jesus."
Right? And amazingly, Texas has produced like the most presidents out of every state in the union.
No correlation.
No correlation at all. But the world is run by the C students, so we don't we don't care. This is the way that works.
What fascinated you about Demon Souls then? What
starting over at the beginning. The all progress lost. Enemies respawned. You have to go back to the starting point. I mean, death had consequences. There was no pick up where you left off. You had to go back, not die again, not make that mistake again to get your souls back. Right? And that was like the currency. So it made you learn. It made you learn patterns. It made you fight, right? This was before speedrunners ruined it and say, "Oh, you can just run through all this and jump over here."
And that balance between stamina and health as well, I was fascinated by.
The stamina bar,
you could throw your sword, but if you left yourself open, you might not have enough stamina to block.
Right, you're going to take damage.
There was this genuine... It felt heavier, the combat did, than any of the other Souls games. Yeah. But it just felt... It felt like you were invested, that it was tying into stuff where I felt like I was there in that regard. Like there was this genuine level of human panic that I had if I didn't have enough to block or I was out of my depth. And also, I mean, telly with the sound right up and just hearing like... And you're like, where is that?
Right.
Yeah, magic.
So many oh shit moments. So many like, oh my god, they're chasing me, right? Like there's 7 of them. Come on, please, But you learn how to fight and control the mob, and then you figure out a way around and to kill them and retrieve your souls, and eventually you become, like, okay, I beat that level, I become good, I can do that type of thing, and you don't get that. You don't get that today.
That first Red Eye Night as well.
Did you PvP much in the
Oh my god, I almost threw my controller the first time I got invaded.
I thought it...
I panicked.
It was like the flat had been broken into. I was like, what?
Yeah, my first one was exactly the same. Just all my poo.
I was so scared. What's he going to do to me? That's what I thought. I thought I was like someone had really invaded my house and was going to come kill me on my couch. Like, I had that feeling of panic. Panicked.
Do you remember where it was? Do you remember where your first invasion was?
Yeah, it was. I had just killed, it was in, it was 4-1.
Yeah, 4-1 with mine as well.
It was 4-1. I was just going out of the little cave, where you could see the fly-y kind of butterfly guys who threw the spears at you.
Mm.
And I got invaded by somebody as I was coming out to go around to the next area. And I was so scared. Then he came, and he was all red, and I ran, and he killed me in like 3 shots, and I was done. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, I'm alive. Yeah. But it was so frightening. It took me a while to get used to somebody that could actually come and kill me in my world.
It kind of broke the fourth wall in that regard, quite heavily for me, because I'd never seen anything like that. And I heard afterwards that of one invader who just stalked somebody for a level. and that at least I was killed quite quickly.
Yeah, me too.
If somebody was, you didn't know where they were, and they were coming towards you, and I think this person was just waiting for somebody to like really like choke up on souls and stuff, and then like come at them. But that's Hitchcockian.
I actually tried to set a trap for my first invader.
Yeah,
I was in
really?
3-1. I was in 3-1 in the Tower of Latria, and I'd just done the arrow bridge.
Okay.
And I thought, oh no, I've been invaded, shit. And I kind of saw them across the hallway. Like, when you kind of...
Are you sure it wasn't the NPC, the red NPC?
No, this was a human. Their name was like Master Sniper XXX1. It's like, this isn't part of the game. I'm sure this isn't lore for this.
It was my first PSN name. Please, can we change our names now?
I was 12. Please let me change.
Somebody's still having to explain that to their girlfriend. Now they're like 30.
But I remember seeing it and thinking, I had that bridge that I just shut off. Maybe I can run back and turn it on if they run across it. Turns out you can't turn it back on.
Gotcha.
But that fight, it took me... It was like a 3-minute long fight. It was a long fight, and I fucking won. And I put the controller. The controller was sweaty. It was wet.
God, yeah.
Like, I was slipping all over. Like, I fell off the sofa. Like, how do I do the boss now? My nerves are shot.
I haven't had that sweaty palms because once you play Souls game, I kind of knew going into Dark Souls 1, based on Demon Souls, this looks like a trap. I knew what fog gates meant. I knew that meant bosses. I knew that meant new area, new something. I knew how to kind of upgrade. You kind of get a little bit more savvy, and you don't have that sort of, that sweaty palm thing. But I totally know what you're talking about in Demon Souls.
But that sort of breeds a cockiness that the Souls games normally take advantage of. Like you'll lure yourself into a point. You're like, oh balls.
Yep. And you still get killed by the gravity or the arrow or the trap or the swinging pendulums. Oh my god.
So how did you transition to Dark, and what did you make of it? I presume you were day one then after Demons.
Oh yeah. I was dating a girl at the time. I named all my characters Teresa or some variation of Teresa in Dark Souls 1.
That doesn't sound stalkery at all or obsessive.
She was that's how I got my most. I love character creation. I love making the faces, of the girls and stuff, and that's kind of how I got into I'll only play a game if I can play as a girl. But I made my first character in her image, just so she would let me play it without any interruption or problem. I'm like, honey, I'm doing this for you, babe. I'm doing this for you. This is your character. You want to watch me kill this boss? Is you? Oh, here you go. And that's
imagine telling your friends about this.
I haven't told anybody about this. This is an exclusive for you guys. But that's how I got to start in that in Teresa's image. And so, but yeah, I started off Dark Souls 1. I was a forest hunter. I did do that. But again, the learning curve on the PvP, because I didn't do a lot of it in Demons, because I was still scared piss, and I didn't know it. I didn't get into invading until about 120 hours into my playthroughs of Dark Souls. And then I joined the Forest Covenant, and it was kind of fun running around, killing people, and my build's better than yours. But everybody knew something else. I didn't know GameFAQs existed. I didn't know that there were still those sites up until a couple of years ago that would tell you this is the most OP weapon. You can do this, you can do that. And then I kind of started reading. I mean, I went through and I was so happy to get the Kellogg sword, right? The Quelaag sword, and it had fire and this cool little thing.
Love that thing.
I love that weapon, and that was my first PvP weapon. Was Quelaag's sword, and then I discovered the Chaos Blade on my next playthrough, and I used that and bled people out. But I did Forest, I did Invasions in Anor Londo, and I was okay. I was 50-50. I would win a fight, I'd lose a fight, I'd get trolled, and then, I would, R1 spam somebody to death, back then. I didn't really know know any better. And then Dark Souls 2 came out.
So with Dark Souls, did you were you still playing the single player at this point, like going through the story again and again, or did the PvP proper collect at this degree?
No, I did a lot of PvE in Dark Souls, more than I did PvP. I wasn't big on the PvP. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I got comfortable with it enough, but I still liked the PvE aspect of it, completing the game and, trying not to die and, beating a time even before I knew about speed runs and, people did challenge runs and stuff. I did them on my own with myself in those games, and it was kind of an experience. I didn't really know of the online community. I didn't have a lot of gamer friends. I wasn't on Twitch. I didn't join Twitch until June of 2014. I didn't even know it existed until my girlfriend said, hey, there's Twitch. There's this website dedicated to people who stream video games. And then I got into that, and then I was enjoying PvP in Dark Souls 2 for the longest time. And then I started watching some of my favorite streamers and watched them do the PvP, and I was like, okay, I really enjoy this. And then I got into it, and that's how I Love Jessicabiel was built.
Well, there was something about when you love one of the Souls games of seeing, especially if it's the first playthrough, seeing somebody else play the game and seeing the choices that they've made and the builds that they've done, and just seeing how they react. And I think that's what makes certainly with Dark Souls, I'd say it's what makes watching other people so much fun, but also going back and doing brand new builds and just testing, like breaking your own muscle memory and just seeing how you do things differently.
But also, it's a validation that watching them make the same mistakes you did when you were a gamer, and they fell for the same thing. Like, okay, I wasn't so stupid.
At them.
Right. Like, okay. Exactly. Like, oh my God, this guy was me. I did the same exact thing.
He turned to page 86.
The same. Dude, I seek out. I follow the games. I look to see who's streaming, and if they have blind playthrough first run, I will go into their stream and just lurk and watch them. And you're constantly looking for that. They call it the cherry high, what that you had when you first experienced it, but you're living vicariously through them, making the same mistakes and doing things over and over again and screaming, oh my God, I lost 10,000 souls, oh woe is me. When now you look back and you're like, oh my God, I beat the game 1,700 times, they do all these things. But you don't want a backseat. Like anybody who's had, can you help? I'm like, I'm not telling you shit. Figure it out on your own.
Go by instinct,
right?
But there is the thing where you watch sort of, especially if somebody's in a boss battle. There are points where I will still make one of those noises, like you're told to do laps of the gym, and you're trying to touch the wall rather than with your hand, with the edge of your shoe, and you're just going like. There's still points where I'm watching, and I'm like, oh no! I'm like, oh come on!
Right, I'm sitting at the screen, and I'm just like, run, go left, run left, go, roll into the attacks.
The hardest
not away
part
from
of
the
any
attack.
game is watching someone do a bit that you've already done.
Yeah,
Like, just go there. Just go. It's right. Oh my God! He walked past the door again. Oh my God! Like,
oh come on! But with Dark Souls as well. I mean, I didn't know Ash Lake existed until. Watching video runs way sort of into my second bit, and it's like, what? Where's it's in a tree?
Yep.
What? Why would I go up? What? So yeah, there's plenty I missed. And
well, Dark Souls 3 is the epitome of that. Like, Dark Souls 3 has so many things that if you don't look it up, you'll never find it. Like revisiting the bridge.
Let me just yell there. CJ is only halfway through the game.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
He's working through Irithyll. Is that right?
Okay.
I'm on two different bits, but I'm working through on two different consoles as well.
I will say this and not use any names.
I thought I'd snipe that.
I will say it like this. You're going to end up killing something or someone or some enemy somewhere, and their armor set, once you kill them, is not going to drop with them. It's going to drop and appear like 5 levels previous. Somewhere you would never think to go again. It's going to drop there, and that's where you're going to find that armor set.
Well, I had the thing recently whereby I got to Irithyll and I fought that big sort of Muppet lizard thing. And I couldn't get to the other side, and I saw on the floor it said, that requires a doll. And I was like, oh, is this like a little wink to Painted World? And then just thought, right, there was one moment where I'd varied my build and stuff, and I was trying different things, and nearly killed the creature, but I went for an attack when I should have healed and died, and I just thought, fuck it, I'll, going back into old Souls territory, just going, I'll go through the early levels, and I'll get a load of souls, and I'll get some more health, and I'll put it into this, and I'll try this, and was going back through Road of Sacrifices around there, and just a little bit further on went up where I originally went down, and went into a boss battle.
Yeah.
Like, what? And then went into a completely different area again after that. I don't know if I did Deacon to the Deep at that point. I don't think I'd quite done it, but I went back to Irithyll and absolutely fucking twatted that lizard. But that was because I'd gone into old soul stuff, and I'd just tried doing something which I thought would make my character better, but ended up finding something that I'd completely bypassed.
Yeah. It's the level design of Dark Souls 3 is far superior over Dark Souls 2. I will say that they got that right. But I will say that I'm not as emotionally invested in Dark Souls 3 as I was Demon's Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2.
In what way would you say?
I don't know what it is. I was talking with one of my buddies, Hard Flaccid, today about the same thing. It just does not have that.
Hard Flaccid.
Yeah, Hard Flaccid. He's
lovely.
He's another streamer. He does Soul stuff. He also does Mario Maker expert runs and such. But he asked me what I thought of Dark Souls 3, and I said I love it. I liked it. I played it complete through 4 times now, but it doesn't have me coming back to it like Dark Souls 2 or even Dark Souls 1 did. It just doesn't have that replayability for me. Like Bloodborne, I beat twice and never wanted to go back. I hated it that much.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it's something about the PvP, right? That makes you keep coming back and replaying it. I mean, there's still signs in Demon Souls. There's still PvP in Dark Souls, after 5, 6, 7 years. And that's because the PvP was so good. In Dark Souls 3, right now, it's not as good. It's not as good. It's not as smooth.
I saw today
It's a bit more chaotic, if anything.
It's very chaotic.
You've got 5 different colours of phantoms, which I actually kind of like.
It's more colorful. One, there's not as many weapons. There's 200 weapons in Dark Souls 2, in armor. I mean, there's really not that much variation in Dark Souls 3. There's just not. I don't care what you tell me. There's also, it's much more geared towards the host in Dark Souls 3. The whole reason that Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls was good was because you can grief new players. You can surprise them. You can, you have those, oh shit, I got invaded, where now you got 5 of your buddies with you when you get invaded, and they can summon at will, and there's usually a 3v1 or a 4v1 or something like that. In Dark Souls 3, toxic, poison, corrosive, all non-viable. There's nothing fun. The only thing that's viable in Dark Souls 3 is bleed, and everyone uses it. Everyone uses Carthus Rouge, a washing pole, or one of the other bleed weapons, and there you go.
See, now this is where we differ, because you're very definitely coming from an invader standpoint. From the guy who usually gets invaded, I'm very happy with Dark Souls 3.
Well, you're one of the
squad. They can't fuck me over as much. I have a chance.
You're one of
now.
the little girls with their little, got their little panties in a wad that complain to FromSoft and Bandai Namco that the game is too hard. I can't get through. I keep getting invaded. They keep killing me. I can't get through it. And that's why they changed all the rules.
And then they sent me a nasty message because I Estus-did.
Mind you, that's changed, hasn't it, in the third one? Because it used to be a huge faux pas, and I believe it still is on the PC. But now on consoles, everybody's just doing Bloodborne sort of chugging.
Well, as a host, I think you're more than you're in my world. Fuck you.
I don't mind if you drink, as long as there was a heal punish. Like the animation in Dark Souls 2 of drinking your Estus and healing is much more punishable than it is in Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3, it's immediate, boom, boom, boom. You can just drink at will, and that's fine. I don't mind it, the host drinking on me. That's fine, as long as I can punish it if he does it. It's very hard to punish in Dark Souls 3. They need to slow down that animation.
So to jump back to Dark Souls 2, what was your initial viewpoint of it when it came out on either 360 or PS3?
It runs so smooth. It was awesome. There was 40 bosses with all the DLCs. I mean, it was just a much more expansive game. 40 bosses.
Fuck that doesn't. Really?
Yep.
Wow. I mean, I believe you, but fuck.
Yeah. With the DLCs, you had 40 bosses, you had 200 weapons, you had all this armor. Fashion Souls was great. The character creation was fantastic. The PvP was usually 1-on-1, 2-on-1 at the most. Everything was viable: poison, tox, bleed, corrosive. You could basically make a specialized character. Magic, I mean, I hate mages. I hate anybody who plays with magic because I think it's easy mode, because you can just pew 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 from a distance and never get your hands murky.
Are you mage shaming again?
Absolutely. I have a quote. I have a quote in my chat. Being a mage is a lot like a glory hole. It's fun for the first 5 minutes, and then you realize what you've done. But
Excuse me.
because it's easy, you just snipe from distance. You don't get your hands in the muck. You don't really learn the moves or the move set or how to roll and dodge or anything like that. You just kind of cheese it from 40 feet away from the real action. But that's neither here nor there. Everything's viable in Dark Souls 2. Every weapon is viable. If you learn it, you can use it. There's really no shit tier type of weapons or whatever. There are some that are more powerful than others, but there's always some sort of counterbalance for it. The parrying is a lot better. The combat's a lot more fluid, and it's a little bit slower. The animation for chugging is a lot slower, so you can punish it. I really like that about Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 3, like Coffee Jesus says, very chaotic, and it's always a gank when you invade. The only way to get true PvP is picking up signs, and you can shoot me in the head. That is so boring. You don't have the randomness in it. You don't have, those moments of like, holy shit, you know what to expect. The glory of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 was the element of surprise. This can happen at any time. Be prepared. You can get invaded and you can get killed. And that's how I started off, playing on PS3. Having fight clubs and stuff, and learning how to invade, watching Roe and True Talent and a couple other of my friends. And that's what got me into streaming, is because I basically learned how to make very powerful characters very quickly. The term is called a twink. You've probably heard it before. It's actually the Souls community has taken a term that's traditionally associated with the gay community and turned it in with someone who griefs players, and it's basically a twink is an of-age boy who looks very young or something. And what a twink is, it's somebody that's a powerful character, has already beaten the game, has all high-end gear, and can invade lower levels, people starting the game. And I learned how to do that very well in Dark Souls 2.
The thing was with True at that time, I mean, he was a Street Fighter player by trade.
Yep.
And yet he was showing people how to not do the builds that they've been taught to do, but actually just experimenting with stuff. Yep. And not just Fashion Souls. He was the person that taught me that a poison rapier in the left hand was better than a shield.
Yep.
Because and how to in the opening moments of an invasion, read a player's attack and how many swipes they can do before they need to recover.
Yep.
And it was like this brilliant lab for something that hadn't really been a part of my game at all. I was a single player game particularly, but I found that fascinating. And on a true tip, I'm really sad that he's not gone into Dark Souls 2 in the same way as Dark Souls 3 in the same way as I'd hoped he had.
Well, he was one of the first one that actually taught me that there's a science behind Souls, right? Weight matters, recovery time matters, footsies matter, spacing, things like that. Tactician is basically what put True on the map, using two rapiers at the same time, the Espada Ropera, and that was his tactician build. And then he had Premature Mage, he had Ares with the axe, and they all wore, gear that was optimized. He was the first one to start optimizing and min-maxing type of things. And there was a reason why he wore this, why he carried this, why he attacked when he did. And him explaining that, he was the first one that ever said why. It wasn't always the what, it was the why and the how, and that educated me, and I call that science souls.
I think
But optimised gear, it makes my fashion soul sense tingle.
Yeah, his fashion souls was on point though. Absolutely on point.
Absolutely on point.
And I think that the thing that I learned from watching True on Twitch, and he was one of the reasons that I started watching Twitch more, was he wasn't kind of broadcasting to other people. He was enjoying talking to people, and they were a really huge part of the way that he those broadcasts went on, and that he was really warm and he was really funny, and would genuinely enjoy what he was doing.
Yep.
And that's what it meant. What made it a pleasure to kind of hang out, whether it be on like a Saturday morning or if he was streaming a bit later, just crash back on the couch and lie on some pillows and just sort of watch and see the stuff go down. It's to me he showed what a Twitch streamer could be.
Absolutely.
And that's how I got into it. And I think if there's anything that you've taken from True Stream, I think it's that, because people just hang out and they play pop music and you've ruined people's lives.
He was my first sub on Twitch. He was one of the first streamers that I sat and I watched and I really enjoyed. Second was Ro Parkour. I don't know if you know Ro, but he did invasions in Dark Souls 2. True did more of the tactical bits in the arena. He did do red and blue invasions as well, but Ro took it to a different level with his invasions, actually trying to troll people, kick them off of bridges and things like that. And that was the start of why I wanted to stream. I'm like, I can get into this. I can get into this. I'm good enough at this game to, make builds and, abuse the system, if you will. And I took it upon myself to, troll players and create the builds that I did. And then I ended up having 20 different twink characters that I would cycle about on my streams. And yes, some of them broke gear, some of them poisoned, some of them toxed, some of them had ridiculous poise and ridiculous weapons. And, that's kind of how it came to be.
Why do you think that the community reacted so badly towards Dark Souls 2? Because a lot of the people that were fans of the first game went through Dark Souls 2. Some of them were like, well, it was all right. And a Souls game that's all right is still better than most games.
Yeah.
But a lot of those, I'd say a large proportion of those people didn't go near the DLC and didn't even bother with Scholar.
The PvP is fantastic. The PvE is too easy in Dark Souls 2. It's not much of a challenge for someone who's played Demons and Dark, because life gems. There was way too much healing available to people. You
didn't see me fighting the Smelter Demon the first time. That's a very broad statement. You weren't online at that point. No, that was pre-release. I got that early, and I was like, what do I do? I can't. I didn't even know it was optional. That's where my 360 run gutted out. Like, I borrowed a 360 to review it, and that's where my run gutted out because I couldn't do it.
And it was dialed up at that point as well. I think Smelter was
fucking awful. Like, he goes flame sword, and you were done. Like, I had to get the Gurm shield to get through it because it had 100% fire and physical. It's the only way I got through that fight the first time. I never would have done it.
Learn to roll.
I did. Cheating prick knocked me into a wall. I was like, I can't. I'm stuck. I can't move. I can't. Oh shit! Like the one run that was going well, and he battered me into a wall, and it glitched, and I got stuck. I was furious.
I only use my shield to parry in Dark Souls 2. But no, back to why the community hates Dark Souls 2. PvE is too easy, way too many life gems, way too many bonfires.
I miss life gems, though. I really want them back. Life gems were brilliant.
Yeah, I think that game did a lot that people forget how inventive it was. And it's just washed away with, it's not Miyazaki.
Yeah,
I think that's doing it a disservice.
I think the B team did a very good job.
The community are babies. Wah.
Oh yeah, they're Souls community's a bunch of meme lord, cancerous little baby whiner criers. It always has been. But you will never find a more friendly group of elitists ever. I mean, we can bitch and moan, but if somebody from the outside tries to trash our games, you'll see a community rally and just, go ape shit on somebody who's trying to shit on, anything. But we can complain because we're invested in the Soul series. We loved it. We played it from the start. But yeah, Dark Souls 2 has problems. Too many bonfires, too many life gems. The PvE is too easy. The game's too linear. Finding every area and every secret is a little bit too easy. You're not searching forever for a small doll, right? You're not having to backtrack and find the key. You don't have to talk to this particular person to unlock this. It's all very kind of laid out for you. But the PvP of that game and the variety and the builds that you can make is fantastic. They also hated soul memory. They were so used to the soul level, 10 being able to invade. It's another soul level 10, so on and so forth. Where soul memory, you could control it. If you killed too many enemies, your soul memory went up, and there are all the different tiers. That's neither here nor there. They got around it. Their initial outrage. But the PvP is fantastic. You can always find a fight. It's very smooth. It runs so much better. Dark Souls 3. The PvE is difficult. There's not as many bonfires. There are no life gems. You do get punished a lot. The bosses are a little bit more menacing and a little bit harder. There's a lot more bosses that have 2 phases. Like when I first fought the Abyss Watchers, I was very pleased that I could kill the first phase, and I was like, oh fuck, I got 3 Estus left for this guy. And I died summarily to the second phase, and then ended up dying 5 times to that boss on my first playthrough before I actually was able to almost flawless the first phase, conserve all my Estus, and then whatever. But you don't have those in Dark Souls 2 other than Coffee Jesus' problem with Smelter.
That's our Paddy now.
Oh, Paddy, sorry.
Yeah.
And then when I went back on the PS3, I got stuck there again. Fuck Smelter.
Wow.
Fuck him in the ear.
So were you looking forward to Bloodborne before it came out?
I was. I had actually tweeted some of the trailer stuff was great, and I actually tweeted, "This is what I'm doing with the next year of my life," because before Dark Souls 3 came out, and then I played it. And I was just like, oh my god, I don't like the sliding, and the combat is frenzied. There's no, you can heal at will, and there's 20 weapons and 5 armor sets, and I don't know, I just didn't like the story. It was very Lovecraftian. I didn't like the whole alien type of thing, and there was a lot of things about Bloodborne I did not like, primarily the gameplay.
You people make me so sad. You fucking people make me so sad.
Yeah, because I didn't.
It was my favourite game of all last year.
I think that the thing is with Bloodborne, and I do think that there'll be a moment where I mess with it, but it didn't feel like I was connecting with anything. Like when I hit something, it felt like I was punching a cake. That I was going
spongy, right?
Yeah. I was going through something, and while it went kind of
right.
I wasn't sure if I'd kind of hit it, or I was going straight through it rather than feeling like I was making contact with something tangible. Yep. And I never quite got in with it. Plus, my soul style is very cautious. We were saying earlier about people running through games and stuff. No, if I see 3 things, I'll be trying to shoot them with an arrow from as far away as I possibly can.
Yeah. Well, you try to aggro, right? You try to aggro one enemy, fight them one at a time instead of, fighting the mob, because that's when you get into trouble, is when you fight the mob. But you got to figure that out first on who to shoot first and how to aggro, and
But it works well in co-op in that way as well, because Pad's always sort of straight in there with sort of twatting them closely, and I'll be the one sort of standing behind and trying to pick them off with arrows and do that sort of stuff. So it's
Johnny Big Bollocks and Captain Heidi Face.
How dare you? I'm an important part of that equation, sir.
As am I, with my giant fuck off sword.
Yeah, it works well together.
I'm a big fan of running in yelling "eat shit" while he's throwing arrows from a distance. Fuck you!
So how soon after Bloodborne did you jump into Scholar, or was it more or less straight away?
It was straight away. I mean, when Scholar came out, I forgot all about Bloodborne. I think I might have streamed, 20 hours of Bloodborne. Yeah, that was about it. I twinked a little bit to get the Chikagi early by killing the preacher guy in the castle. I think I killed him at soul level or blood echo level 35 or something like that. So I learned how to build a twink real quick, and that was a little bit of fun, and that took my mind off it. But then I actually started the PvP, and the matchmaking was terrible, and and then the Chalice dungeons, it turned into a farming game. Person with the best gems would be the best PvPer, and I wasn't going to sit there and farm for 12 years to get plus 27 gems or something like that. So I lost interest real quick. Dark Souls 2, I had every weapon in the game. I had all the urns and everything, all the consumables, so it was very easy for me to configure characters, and I just had a lot of fun doing the PvPs, and I still do to this day. The game is tremendously populated still with players playing the game, just trying to get through it so they can play Dark Souls 3. And
I think there's a lot of folks that have come to Dark Souls 3 from Bloodborne that are now making their way backwards in the same way as people were making their way backwards from Bloodborne to Scholar. So yeah, that's surprised me a little bit when you said it on stream, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I kind of like that.
It's 100% true statement. There are streamers now, like AKA Constantine. She got her start playing Dark Souls 2. And then has gone back to play Demon Souls and play Dark Souls on first playthroughs. And it's kind of fun, trying to see her use Dark Souls 2 tactics in those games, and they don't work. They don't work because the mechanics are different. The stamina bar is different. There's dead angles. There's backstabs. You can chain backstabs in people in Dark Souls 1 that you can't do in 2 and 3. So you have to adapt your playstyle, and the muscle memory doesn't work. Like it used to. Like, you don't run as fast. You don't move as fast. You can't roll, in 8 different angles like you can in Dark Souls 2. So it's watching them learn and relive those games, trying to learn a new skill set is just a lot of fun.
I had that problem moving from after Bloodborne, going back to Scholar. And yeah, cool, great, I'll do a light character, I can roll, I can go, right, so I'm going to roll 5 times. Oh, wait, no, I've rolled twice, I'm out of stamina. What if I'm dead?
Right, and then with the lock-on, and you can, when you press the button, you actually, kind of dash towards them, right? No dashing.
Wait, but I was trying to, but, I'm dead.
Right. There's no more, you can still R1 spam, but it's not as effective.
So we've every sort of episode since we started covering the Dark Souls 3 stuff, we've highlighted a particular area, and this one we're kind of looking into Undead Settlement.
Oh yeah.
Have you any sort of early thoughts on the area itself?
I like the way that it's designed, where you have 2 paths to go through, rather than just one. I do like that it has multiple layers. I like the houses. I like how many enemies are in it. I like the tribute to Solaire so early in the game, where you get the praise to sun. You can become a sun bro in that area. I like the Estus soup, was kind of fun. Nice
Estus
little reward.
Soup, I want to eat that.
I missed that completely the first time I was going around, and kind of, I've made note here, Estus Soup and the Sunlight Covenant, they sound like they might be about third on the bill at Woodstock.
And it was kind of nice because up until that point, there were no upgrade materials at all. And then you started finding the shards. And I was like, okay, now I'm getting somewhere. And then there was an NPC that you couldn't free. You found the girl, and you're just like, okay, I need a key or something. And then, there was this fog door. You're like, should I go through there or not? And then there was the Siegemeier quest. There's a lot of things that go on in Undead Settlement. I missed the cliffside bonfire on my first playthrough. I totally missed that bonfire.
That is a hard one to miss, a hard one to find if you're not looking for it, though.
Yeah, I think
that's a reasonable one to miss.
Yep, I missed it. But I did find Siegemeier, which was kind of great. So early in the game, you start seeing Undead Settlement. Everything up to that point is foreign. You don't know anything. There's no real reference or okay, Now when I go, okay, then here's the Sunbro. Oh, here's Siegemeier. That's cool. Then you'd start. They brought back those elements that made you so familiar in the prior series. I started feeling a little bit more comfortable.
It's very Resident Evil 4. I thought was my first thing when I looked down upon the level. I was like, oh yeah, it's a bit like that.
It's just a dirty, filthy town, isn't it?
Well,
it certainly is.
I thought Bloodborne because of the stupid dogs. Like right when you first get there and you see the carriages that don't do anything, and there's just a whole bunch of dogs running around. Like, oh, it looks very Bloodborne-y to me.
But that's kind of quite Demons as well.
Yes.
'Cause Demons had like the dogs and the carriages, although they rattled and gave an impression in Demons like that something was going to burst out and fight you, but didn't quite. There's that first impression it makes though when you get carried there by the gargoyles.
Yep.
Where you're standing on top of the foot of the high wall, and you've got that incredible strong wind, and that really took me back to Demon Souls, where, and even I guess Undead Parish when I was playing Dark Souls when it was like October or something when it came out, and I just felt the room was cold when I was in it, and I just heard this like going around. It was one of those where I was very very much there, but the way it kind of that wind sort of smashes around where you're standing and stuff is a really good entrance to the level, I think.
I enjoyed the enemies and the variety of enemies they had between the thralls and the workers and the evangelist type of person and the dogs. It was all very well put together, and there were so many secrets that you could find, and the
it's
little
dense,
cage.
Isn't it? Yeah.
What?
It's a dense level. Like there's a lot.
It's very
there.
dense. There's a lot to do. I mean, there's like 19 things you have to do in Undead Settlement, or that you can do besides
so I have a
finding
question.
the bonfires.
Did either of you guys, when you first get in, when you go through the gate and you hit the first kind of like the bonfire in the hut,
Yep.
Just past the munchy dogs.
past the munchy dogs, did you see the archer at that point?
What do you mean?
No, standing on top of the building. No,
Yeah.
I didn't see him.
No,
You
I
can
did
see
not
him
see him.
from the first minute
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get to that level, and you can see him shooting his arrows into the sky. And I just glanced over. I heard like a blam. I thought, "Fuck's that?" And just sort of panned the camera around and saw him. Like, oh, I know what's happening here. Shit.
I totally missed that. I didn't see him. I was looking for him too. When I got to the dilapidated bridge bonfire, I'm looking up. I'm looking around like, where the fucking hell are these javelins coming from? I couldn't see him.
It's
I
a
had
difficult
no
angle
idea.
from there. When you go back, you go to the Undead Settlement, literally look forward and you'll see him. Clear as day. And you were like, how did I not see him?
I think you
He's
tend
right
to
there.
get that wider perspective the more you play the game though, because I was going through. I'm sure I was going through something like Road of Sacrifices with Gadget Girl Kylie, and it was the first time I'd looked up. I'd panned the camera up from like where I was standing, and I was like, "Christ, you can see Lothric from here."
Yeah.
You can see, and I was suddenly really taken aback by this level of depth that wasn't there when I first played it, because I was squarely focusing like dead in front of me, and whatever was making kind of those evil duck noises around me. So.
Well, you can pan around in like Anor Londo and see like Dragon Peak, Arch Dragon Peak, and you can see Lothric. You can see the other levels of the game, and that's a lot like Bloodborne with Yharnam. You can see the other areas you were at, even in Dark Souls 1, how all the the areas were interconnected. You didn't have that in Dark Souls 2. I mean, you weren't looking at other areas and such in Dark Souls 2, and that's what they got back to in Dark Souls 3.
It feels like they link together, doesn't it?
They do.
You feel like
Yes.
they work geographically as well.
Correct. Absolutely.
Did you go into the House of the Munchkin Men, or did you go onto the landing and drop down near to the big fire?
I did the Munchkin Men.
Ooh, that's harsh, man.
Yeah.
Did you survive, or did you get twatted?
Oh, I killed them.
Well played.
I
They
got
still get
lucky.
me now if I go in there. I panic as to where they are.
The one with the sword is the prick.
He has a flamberge, and he looks
Yeah.
ridiculous, but he does so much damage if he hits you.
He
You
turns
lose,
up with a
like,
fucking Soul Reaver. Like, oh.
Yep, two-thirds of your health done if he hits you.
And you get the first fat lady in the sun hat, who
I killed her
think
with arrows.
Yeah, me too. I picked all of those
I
bastards off with
cheesed her.
arrows.
Yep, me too.
You
Yeah.
bloody girls.
and she's throwing that kind of magic licorice at you.
The magic licorice that does bleed damage. Yep.
Yeah.
That stuff is
I
great.
think there's something scary about her because she speaks in English rather than doing like Latin.
And she carries a Bible.
Yeah, and a big fucking pole. And also that pole takes me a little bit back to Tower of Latria, because later on, when you're going through like Cathedral of the Deep and you're hearing like the dong, dong, you're like, oh fuck. And she will, like in later levels, especially in Cathedral of the Deep, she will run half the level to get you.
Oh yeah.
And she jumps down a fucking lift after you at a certain point.
I remember
if you aggro her.
The Tower of Latria. There's no noise that resonates with me today than that fucking ringing bell. The little ringing bell of the fucking mages.
I was saying, like, there's a lass that used to play guitar in my last band who got an iPhone, and her text noise was a bell. And when she first got this iPhone, we were sitting waiting to go on in the gig, and she got texted. And a part of a completely irrational part of my brain just snapped when I heard that bell go off.
Right.
And it was just like instant panic,
instant trigger.
I couldn't rationalize what it was, but something in my brain was going like, run.
And then you peed yourself.
Yeah.
I used to have
always a good look
I used to have the Metal Gear alert noise as my text message for a while, and I had to change that.
But it's amazing, like just little noises, little sounds, little bits, just cause a panic. And every time I hear that little ringing bell, oh my god, it just drives me crazy. Brings back moments of like, stop shooting me with your fucking spear, that soul spears.
So we then get to how many men can you fit in a cage?
I actually call those guys a cage of men. That's what I call them, the cage of men. Yeah, a cage of men. Because
I don't know, there's got to be like 6 or 7 of them in there.
Because you see, when there was one playthrough I was doing, and a few days previous I'd heard a song, and then when I saw them, I was kind of like, no, I was like, you can dance if you want to. It wouldn't get out of my head. And then I started to do, what was it? It was something like, we can go where we want to. If you squeeze in, you're behind. If you have legs and if you don't beg, you can squeeze in a cage of mine. And that wouldn't leave my head at all. And the more that kind of I giggled at it, the more those lyrics
those guys were handy, because those guys actually were the place where I learned that bows were brilliant, because I was trying to hit them with my twin swords, because I love my twin swords, and they were doing absolutely fuck all. Like bouncing off them, I was getting hurt because they were flaming their legs every time I went to hit them. They were terrible. I thought, I've got the bow. Let's try and shoot. Oh, that's half their health. That's where I got my appreciation for the longbow. In this game, so I barely used it until that point. It's like, oh, this is good, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
bows me my bag.
Bows are amazing in this game.
Well,
bows
in Dark Souls 3,
so
you need a bow. You absolutely need a bow.
So we've then got, of the other enemies, we've got the pitchfork guys, the knife men, and the people that I call Cranberries Barry.
Cranberry men.
Who will buy my wonderful cranberries? With that massive urn that he gets sort of quite fucked off.
I got hit by it. I got hit when they threw it at me. I got hit by that twice.
There's a certain point where you can bring one. You know where there's the drop off into the sewer area with the rats, and you can bring them to the edge of there, and they'll get angry. They'll smash that big urn of cranberries, and then they'll come in to get you, and will just fall down the hole. And I was collecting them down there. It was like my ark, my zoo.
Well, I killed the one by a dilapidated bridge, that bonfire, probably 50 times my first playthrough to get myself like 6 Titanite shards, just so I could upgrade my longsword. And I went through my playthrough because I started off with the fire gem as my. I started off as deprived. I had the club, and I started off with the fire gem. And then when I was going through the wall of the Lothric wall, I got a longsword to drop, and I just said, "Fuck it, I am gonna go super cheese and make a fire longsword and just go through this game."
Tradition.
And I finished the game at soul level 60 with a +10 fire longsword.
Fucking hell.
And that's how I finished the game.
Classy.
But I farmed that guy for ages trying to get enough Titanite to get that sucker up to +3 before I went on to the next area, and it made a load of difference. I upgraded my longbow to +3 and just went to town. Someone asked me, why did you stop level the soul level 60? Because I spent all my money on arrows. I did. I spent all my souls on feather arrows and wood arrows and large arrows. I must have used thousands of arrows my first playthrough.
Do you think those were limited to 99 of each because somebody in the playthrough went, if you've got 999 of these, you can just ghost the game?
Exactly. Yeah, and I like the fact that they limited how much of something that you can carry.
Yeah.
That you have to sit at a bonfire again to replenish or whatever, because it's absolutely true. I mean, even then, 99 arrows was a lot. I mean, you could almost. I mean, I killed the dragons with a bow. The dragon that comes to Lothric that does the fire in the corridor and on the courtyard, where you get the claymore. If you shoot that dragon with about 88 arrows, he gets down to about a quarter health, and you get a large titanite shard. So I tried that.
And it only took you 20 minutes.
It took me about 8 minutes, and he flew off when I had about 8 arrows left. But I got a large titanite shard, so I had a +4 longsword once I had upgraded it. It was great.
How did you get on with the run with the guy shooting the arrows?
I ran through there. I died. I did suicide runs like you did in the in Dark Souls 1 in the graveyard. And I was able to get a white branch, and when I found him, I became his friend.
Yeah.
And so he would stop shooting at me.
That fight with the bit with the arrows coming down, I think my first successful run through that, I was laughing the entire time. It was just flat hilarious. Just seeing enemies getting flung 20, 30 feet. And then the one time I thought, there's that item you can see just on the sort of bit off to the right.
Yeah, the undead bone shard.
If I dropped there, I can get that, and I ran up to it, and I had that. I was about to press X, and an arrow landed behind me and knocked me off the ledge past the item.
Yes.
All I could do was clap and go, well done.
Yep, well done.
Game.
I did the same exact thing.
Yeah,
I was so happy when he was killing the enemies, and then he would hit me with one. I was like, you fucking prick. Kill them, not me. And I would.
So you got the boss battle then against Twiggy Piss Bollocks.
Tree Bollocks!
Yeah.
Kick him in the nutsack. Yeah, exploding his balls was a lot of fun.
Oh, I love the fight against Tree Bollocks.
It was great.
You can take your real life pastime into the gaming world.
You had such a... Yeah, exactly, right? I had such a satisfaction watching his pus explode after you hit him enough times. It was just this magnificent big blood splash. I thought of popping zits on your face. And yeah, that was...
And then the arm comes out and you're like, yes, this is exactly what it was like to be a teenager. I remember when the arm came out when I popped that zit.
The little...
There was something quite Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey about the whoa,
right when you fell down
as well. Yeah,
I was like
again.
I was like, how do I prevent this? I thought I was gonna die when the ground broke under me. I thought that I had missed something, or I was supposed to stand on the ledge or something, and but no, it took no fall damage whatsoever, and kept going and trying to kill that guy. He killed me my first
it's not just his tree balls. You've got to then take out his tree back balls and his tree leg balls and his tree arm balls
and tree hand.
Why does he have balls on his arm?
It's
Who
not
knows?
balls.
Don't you judge? Don't you judge, you ginger prick?
It's pustules. He's covered in acne. It's gross. It's really disgusting. It's like fighting a 14-year-old boy.
So you give yourself away, sir. You really do. That's the.
Oh.
So then we've got the sewer. You've got big rats, the little rats, side entrance with the Velka statue, and also one of my favourite things in the entire game thus far, design-wise, the tree-type skellybobs. The ones that sort of they've got the twisted branches, but they look sort of quite almost like the 80s Robin Hood TV series had a lot that was based around stags and stuff like that, and twisted twigs that formed sort of antlers and things, and seeing those sort of matted and woven into skeletons is such a wonderful image.
But they look
really
metal as
wonderful
shit
piece.
as well.
There is that as well, yeah.
Metal as shit, like a spiky tree skeleton with a scimitar. Like, come on, get that on an album cover.
Well,
And again, my it pressed the buttons of my my old Ray Harryhausen loves as well. Any skeletons that kind of rise up and go clack, 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 clack. It's just Jason and the Argonauts. Fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
I was very disappointed with the rats in this game, though, because I remember Dark Souls 1, like, if you going over the bridge and you had to go through the little sewer and the rats were there, I mean, if they, like, hit you, like, once, you were poisoned. And, you know, it took forever for that poison to go away, and it took a lot of your health, and you're wasting flasks, you know, if you get poisoned. These rats, they don't poison you. They just do physical damage, and I thought that was a real shame. Yeah.
Although I did like do a little squealy when the big one comes out of the mist that first time.
I kind of expected that. I must admit.
So did I.
I didn't. I just thought, it'll be a couple more rats. Oh, there's a big one. Oh, piss me.
Did you soil your panties?
All everywhere. Poop.
So you
Every
became
poop.
the queen mother.
You see, Paddy's a married man, so he can have many pairs of panties.
All right, get the spares.
If you have, I mean, seriously, if you haven't worn a pair of panties, you're missing out. They're terribly comfortable. I'm sorry.
I'm now picturing you in a very different way when you're doing these streams. I'm not judging.
I'm not wearing panties while I'm streaming.
You roll in, they hating. So
But I have worn the pair of panties before.
I thought you were just going to start singing, I have a dream, I believe in angels.
You really love Jessica-Biel.
They're very comfortable. See, I was originally going to be I love Kate Beckinsale, but you're limited to 15 characters on a PS name.
That's where her career is now.
And then because it was going to be I love Kate Beckinsale because of Underworld, but I couldn't fit it, so it became I love Jessica Biel because of Blade 3.
That's a bad film, though. There's that bit in that film where it's just like, hey, what's she doing? Hey, she's loading up onto an iPod with like grindcore, skatecore, and like in about 10 years' time, that's going to be like, hey, what have you got there? Hey, it's a personal cassette recorder. Hey, what does that do? It's like these little square records you can like carry around with you, and they take batteries. They're rad.
It's like watching Iron Eagle. If you ever watched that movie back in the day with Louis Gossett Jr. and you had the kid Star Fighter, and he would put his little, cassette player Walkman on whenever he went into, fighter combat, and it's all very dated.
Yeah, it's no Last Starfighter, which is still a classic.
1984, what a great movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Last
So
Starfighter.
we've then got Miracle Covenant Lady and the Silver Man that stands outside with his the guy that looks like a...
Egon!
Okay.
The guy with the hammer.
Yeah.
I think... Do you know where I met him? I thought...
He's protecting her.
the yurt of this game?
Yeah, I kind of think that as well.
Because
obviously
he
I'm not
looks
that
a
far
bit
in.
like the yurt of the game. Like, he's like, yes, everything's silly. And you meet him later and he's like, hanging around with degenerates and freaks. Yeah, she fits in. Like,
yeah, well, the
you a
old
dick?
codgers, yeah.
I mean, I like you, but are you a dick?
Yeah, he calls me old and boring. And it will fit right in. That's
He's changed a
basically
lot
it.
since Ghostbusters.
Damn it, Egon.
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
But then you move past him though, and like, I think for me this was my second big moment of after jumping into Andre in Firelink, when Sigmar just appears from the lift.
And it's the same guy that does the voice of the guy in Majula. The blacksmith is his name.
Oh, just the
Leningrad.
Yeah, Leningrad. Yeah, it's the same guy who sounds a lot like the guy who used to do the Mr. Kipling cakes advert in the UK in like the 80s. And I tried to look up Mr. Kipling adverts, and there was one, and this isn't the guy that I'm thinking of, but I'm going to play it you now because it starts off with the most bizarre opening line. The advert's called Grandma's Tin. Right, this is so shit. It's genius. Right, listen to this as it fires in.
Okay.
Hold on.
Waiting.
One of life's great mysteries is a grandma and her tin. is. Whatever you're thinking, she can make appear. So if you're ever near her, and she has her tin, be careful what you wish for.
That's essentially an NPC from Dark Souls.
What flavor is Angel?
I don't. This one's a bit more like
What does Angel
the
taste
one that I
like?
was thinking of. But this is essentially Leningrad does cake porn.
Oh my
So I'll play you this one. This is from 1985, but it's genius.
Friday brought Mr. Kipling a fancy dress party for my nephew, for which I created something rather fancy. My exceedingly delicious French fancies. They match the occasion rather well, with their colourful fondant icing and their fritters. As for the light cake and delicate filling beneath, it must surely have won a prize. Had there been any left to judge?
Freest going to wank over. Fucking hell, cake porn.
Did they
I'll
record
be
that at an
around
all-girls prep
If you
school?
kick it back.
It's just genius. I always think of like when with Leningrad and this Onion Bro, like Mr. Kipling does make exceedingly good cakes. Every time, it just doesn't go away.
Well, Siegmeyer is all about
have
food
you
and
have
drink.
you turned the camera inside of his helmet yet?
Yeah, it looks.
He looks so cool.
Yeah,
He's just a big,
good.
beardy, happy man who's really stuck. Classic Sieg, bro.
I like
didn't
him.
do that.
I think he has the best NPC quest line in the game.
Which I ruined ridiculously. But we'll get to that in later shows because
Yeah.
spoilers.
Yeah, I've only met him twice, and he's not the man I thought he was.
But
Hey,
like,
see, that's quite veiled, and
there you go.
yeah, it's quite clever, isn't it?
That's clever.
Get in.
I see what you've done.
Wow.
But like that moment when he just appears in the elevator, just turns up like, oh my god, it's Onion Bro, Laura, look at this, it's him.
Yeah, I was
Just,
so
like,
happy
completely
seeing something familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, completely stuck, like in old times. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. This only goes down. What? I don't understand.
But I only found out that it went up when I came back to the area later on. I kind of took him at his word, even though
Yeah.
it had
Wow.
come down from the top.
I did that
and then,
too.
Then went, what?
I didn't know about the double elevator.
Huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
I had
that
to
was my
revisit the
first
area
thought.
for it to go up.
Oh no, that's my first. Like, yeah, okay, jump on it and get off. Like, always do that with elevators. See what happens.
See, I didn't
clever.
get that. I didn't do that.
Oh man.
And he was like, "Why don't you help me?" And I was like, "Fuck you, help you. You help me. I'm new here. What are you trying?" I'm yelling at my TV screen like, "Siegmeyer, fucking help me. What do you mean help you?"
But like that bit plays out. You go up your lift and you sort of hear him go, as you go past. Thinking, what the fuck was that? You meet your giant, make friends with the giant, and again having a little squee moment, like, it's a big man with an arrow.
I didn't
then-
do that until I was able to get the key to save the girl because I didn't revisit the area.
Because
Yeah,
he won't
I
shoot
came
you
back
anymore.
much
Once
later.
I
you've
had to
done that,
kill-
he won't shoot you at all anymore.
Oh, I had to kill the fucking Ithril sword outrider thing.
Oh, that thing.
And go to Road of Sacrifices that I couldn't upgrade because it was twinkling. I was pissed. I was like, this cool ass, snowing sword, and I can't fucking use it. But I wasn't able to do that quest, kind of like Patty, because I didn't know the elevator was up and down. I was like, how the fuck?
Yeah,
And
no,
after
it was. Well, that was literally the first thing I did was go up that elevator. I thought, yeah, of course it goes up. I know how these things work. Yes, I felt smart.
Paddy, you're a genius.
Yeah,
get
yourself a-
I'm
get yourself
afraid
a-
I was as thick as Christian on that one.
Well,
Yeah,
First
you
man,
you deserve some pickled onion monster munch for that.
Oh, that's a not price.
It's my favorite.
Oh,
Roast beef was always the best monster munch.
Roast beef space raiders. That's your shit right there.
What? No, roast beef monster munch.
I prefer
The-
the pickled
But
onion.
so the guy, after you meet him sat on the little ledge,
Yeah.
looking out a demon horror. Like,
Yeah.
did you
I
guys?
shot
him
with
is
arrows,
this
too.
is this the right way?
They do the smoke and mirrors like. Oh no! Sorry, I thought you were meaning the other thing. Are you meaning the kind of asylum demon?
Yeah.
type?
Yeah, big
It's
flamey
that
dude.
you have to fight with them, yeah.
Just stomping around like he's like, maybe we should do this together. Do you want to help me? Don't go off ahead. But the only choice is to go off ahead. And he's like, what are
Right.
you doing?
But is that the bit where he gives you the seek brow?
Yes.
Yes.
Which should be a thing.
And you toast. Yep.
There should be more Siegbrow in the game.
You see, as shite as Namco Bandai's marketing was for Dark Souls 3, they fuck your hot wings, Siegbrow. If you'd have got even a vaguely
I'd
decent
order that
beer,
at a pub.
Yeah, there we go.
There's your
would.
life gems. Fucking put Siegbrow in. Like, make it so you can build your own distillery back at Firelink. Popping up on Siegbrow.
Turn it into like what is it? That old farming game. I can't think what it was called. The one on the
Harvest Moon?
Harvest Moon, yeah, but with beer and Esther soup.
Yeah, and you could like give it to like people in Firelink. Like, here, try this. You could give a beer to Gearhart and get the Firelink keeper, the Firekeeper drunk.
It would be like the equivalent of an Overwatch. You could actually invade as someone with soup. you could be a beer invader. You come through as like a brown phantom, just like giving people like Siegbrow.
It'd be nice if it like made you drunk and like made you stumble around in the world.
Well, that's kind of plays into my character I've been using at the minute. My Sunbro guy I've been playing with, who's called Mr. Estes. He
does indeed have a very
You're
unusual
such a
face pattern.
He's
such a
the orangest
scrub.
man you've ever seen. He's got a large chin. And I was hanging out in the Abyss Watchers the other day, just kind of helping people out there because it was fun and I was getting sunlight medals for it. And as we'd finished the fight, I would then chug all of my Estus and sit down and do the toast. Like, I was on brand with Mr.
The toast
Estus.
is fab.
You filthy son, bro.
Okay, well, here we go. Because it's that time again, everyone. It's Covenant of the Week.
Covenant of the Week.
The Sunbros. So, I'm a bit confused about the Sunbros in this game, because obviously you find it in the Estus soup room, which is fine. I like that, and you can equip it straight away, which is great, and you can start helping people out. I'm 1.5 playthroughs through the game, right? Where the fuck do you turn in sunlight medals?
Oh, there's a room way late in the game where right outside where you fight the Dragon Slayer armor.
Wait, but there?
Yeah.
But that's like the end of the game.
Yeah. You turn in sunlight
That's
medals way
dumb.
late in the game where it's almost stupid. You have to climb a ladder, crawl over a rooftop, drop down, go through a corridor.
You went quiet.
I think we've lost Christian.
Oh.
Can we get Christian back?
Hang on, he's coming. He's. Oh, this is good radio.
Hello?
Dropping from the call.
I really want to know the end of this story.
Can return to...
Sorry about that.
He's back.
Right.
I'm
You still
back.
recording?
Yeah, I'm still recording.
Cool ass.
Cool. I'm not
Right,
editing
carry
this.
Tell us this story.
Okay. So you have to go up a ladder right outside the Dragon Slayer armor. There's a ladder on the big cathedral type thing. It's on the side, the right hand side. Crawl over a rooftop, kill a couple guys that are shooting exploding arrows at you.
Right.
Drop down. There's a tunnel, like a bridge within the structure. You have to kill a Silver Knight that buffs with lightning, and then you're able to turn in sunlight medals, and then open the doors.
That's worse than Dark Souls 2's hiding of the Sunlight Covenant.
It's awful. You're 3/4 of the game before you can turn in sunlight
But I
medals.
want to start turning that shit in now. I've got loads of them. That's dumb. So
Yep.
okay, so there we go. Sunlight Covenant, worst version of it in the whole series. Then
It's brutal. It's brutal. It's worthless. You're carrying around all your sunlight medals for 3/4 of the game.
Can we say as well that with the Onion Bro appearance, the best thing is where it trades on nostalgia for the previous games and then instantly throws you into the Artorias Dog Beast straight afterwards, which is just like, no, fuck, what? No.
Right?
I was panicking my way through that gleefully.
I like.
There's a way of smiling and going, ah, at the same time. I was doing that.
I shot him with arrows.
but oh no, but
Yeah, it was joyful.
that took me a few goes. Like that was hard for me. I had real problems with that guy.
Oh, I did that one first time, I think.
Aren't you a big bollocks?
Yeah, in this instance, yes. I couldn't sort of throw arrows at it from a million
I
miles
was going to say,
away.
did
I
you
had
stand
to
on
go
the
in.
elevator and shoot him?
I threw my fiery club at it, and it submitted. Of course it did.
I suppose fire beats ice in this case, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, frostbite. I like frostbite in this game. It's cool.
Took me a long time to work out what frostbite was.
Kills your
Oh, I'm
stamina.
frostbitten. Oh, and nothing seems to have changed? Oh, okay.
Stamina.
I know things do change, but I didn't clock what they were.
I think you will find that Frostbite is the engine that the computer game company DICE used for their first-person shooter games, which were quite highly regarded, like the Battlefield series.
Fuck me.
What?
So if we can go back to the Sigma path just for a moment. Just for a moment. No.
If somebody listening to this podcast going like, he's right, you know. Thanks for... Dear Twin Humanities.
Congratulations on your correct fact.
I'd just like to send you this email.
So
That was me pretending to press my keyboard. It wasn't like, I saw a mouse.
Yeah, I know. You thrummed on the table.
Your Foley is great.
Little mouse with clogs on.
So there's a few Dark Souls 2 references in this area.
Tons of them.
So when you've beaten the big hot demon thing with Siegbro, and you make your way through another set of cage of men's and big lasses, you come out kind of next to a tower that's near the bridge near the door where you get to Tree Bollocks.
Yeah.
And if you go in that tower, you can find a particular set of armour. You can find the mirror armour in there, the Lucatiel gear.
Yeah.
Except
one of the things you can trade...
You get a Flynn's ring, too, at the top of that.
Yeah, one of the things you can trade Twiggy Piss Bollocks' soul for is...
the Hollow Sayer Greatsword.
Lucatiel's sword.
And I like that, like, it took me a while to twig on this, but those two items are really nearby. You're like, ooh, is that a thing? Like, I'm not smart enough to make the link. I'm sure there are 19 lore videos telling us what the link is. But, like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think I did wear that armour for a lot of the game, actually. It's good armour for that point of the game.
Put that on.
It's light and decent as well. Like, it's reasonable, and its poison defense is great.
Because that if I'd have clicked onto that earlier, I might have used that in the Poison Swamps, but I think I upgraded that that one that was just that armour that you meet at the start of the Road of Sacrifices, where the guy just grunts at you and he appears to be wearing a cauldron.
Oh, Horus. But we'll get to him later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's another covenant you can pick up in this area, the Mound Makers, which we'll probably get to next time, because I missed it completely my first run. I don't know about any of you guys. I missed the Mound Makers completely. I had to be told where it was.
I don't know what that is.
You know the Vimps Bros?
Oh, right, yeah.
The purple men, those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I missed it completely. My second run I went to, I tried it out. It's kind of fun, but we'll cover it in more detail next time, because I've not really given it enough time yet.
Cool. So we've had a good natter about all things Souls and this particular level. So I will, if anybody hasn't jumped into Christian's stream at, so to speak, not a euphemism, but I will underline it's
diving in.
Right, bang your head on the bottom. You know, get yourself a little concussion. Yeah, dive in the shallow end, please.
Tasty. So this involves Christian being very naughty, a character with various weapons, usually 100 urns, and you go out to break the weapons, rings, and armors of whoever you encounter, adumbrated by a laugh like a devil Santa, and sometimes ruining your own fine taste in pop, electronica, and rock by turning requests on for chat.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
We have a good time in there, and it's normally a good laugh, and there's good music on, and it's always a pleasure to drop by. And there's been times where I've had like a really shitty day at work, and I've just sort of fallen into that, and crashed on the couch with some crisps and had a laugh, and it's taken the sting of the day away. So love you to bits, man. Anyway, but
I appreciate that.
Sometimes sort of finding that smile and that level of distance from the day is a wonderful thing. So I can imagine that happens for a few folks as well. So.
What the? Oh no! 10 people asked me for decaf. I need to chill and Beale stream.
I tell you what, the other side of it, I was walking through the centre, was it about 3 weeks ago, and somebody fell over, and it was just like in my head just went broken.
Very nice.
And they looked like they were particularly hurt as well. Like I don't know if a heel had fallen off their shoe or their knee had gone. They might have got, I don't know. They might the abyss might be catching up with them. But that was the first thing that entered my mind, and I had to turn into a nearby shop because I was laughing because I heard like broken, which is what he shouts when weapons and armors start to shatter. But it is a particularly evil and wonderful stream, especially when you get hate mail and you can bring those people to the stream on the one hand. Although my favourites are the ones where people have obviously gone off like a cup of tea or a poo or something, and you just surround their body with little gems and then take a picture and send it to them.
Yeah, we break their gear. They're usually AFK, which means away from keyboard. Meaning they went to take a piss, their mom called them to dinner, whatever, and they just leave their character standing there unattended, and you invade their world. And of course you have your gear breaking corrosive urns or acid mist, and you break all their stuff, and I surround their body with the little grave mementos of prism stones, as many as I have, and then I take a PS4 snapshot and I send it to them as a message, and say broken or fix your gear or something. And inevitably we will get, the hate mail, and 9 times out of 10 though, they become friends of the channel. They'll send a message back, I'll reply, and then, they'll come by the stream, or they'll send me a friend request or something. It's amazing. And they just say, good on you, mate, or that's a good one, or that was funny, or whatever. Various times we'll get hate mail, you're a dick, you're a troll, that was bad, that was brutal, you're an asshole, if I meet you in real life, I'll cut your throat, type of stuff. And those, we share in posterity and we quote them in my chat. But a lot of the people that come by the channel were people that I've abused in game that have come by the channel and are now friends of the stream. It's quite amazing.
The one that still stands out to me, because I think there was 3 days apart we encountered the same person in the same area. And do you remember Majid?
Oh yes, I remember
and
Majid.
He was going through it with his brother, and he was just sent a message eventually, just like, just trying to get through the level.
Right, can you please stop invading us? The best one, though, and he still comes by, you've seen in my chat, is Acer66.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah, well, Acer.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we invaded Acer very early in Scholar of the First Sin. We broke all his gear in the Shrine of Amana. And then we had a little conversation, me and Acer. And then I said, I'll help you with the area. And I dropped my red sign and gave him a seed. And I said, use this. And I helped him get through the entire area up until the fog gate, where I killed him before he got to the next bonfire. And he writes me a message like, you're a fucking asshole. And I wrote him back. I said, no, seriously, this time, dude, here, summon me again. And I dropped him a bunch of gear. Upgraded weapons and such, and he said thank you. 3 days later, I get an email or a Twitch message or a PS4 message from Acer, and it's him. He took a snapshot after he beat the game, and it was him sitting on the throne of Dark Souls 2 after he had beaten the what's her face? Natasha, whatever.
Natasha.
Natasha.
Yeah, Natasha. After he beat Natasha.
You knew her before,
right?
Way before she got cooked in. Did you date her? Is that how she became that way?
Yeah, she loves anal. So Acer sent me a picture of him sitting on the throne and thanking me for helping him out, and then he kept coming by the stream, and we became friends. But that was awesome. That picture of him sitting on the throne, completing the game, and he thought enough of me to send that. That was awesome for someone that we trolled really hard. To do that was awesome, and that's what part of the Souls community is. It's all in good fun. There's nothing malicious about it. It's part of the game. You're going to get invaded. You're going to get trolled, and I think that's one of the things people love about it and keeps them coming back for more.
So yeah, if anybody wants to join in and jump on, it's twitch.tv/ILoveLUV. Jessicabiel. So pile on over there, and I'm sort of in chat a lot there as well. And it's just a really good time. I love it to pieces. And I will say as well that I'll give a little mention for Molly, Christian's recently departed dog.
Aww.
Always a part of the live streams, even if they're barking or distracting you so you had to take her out for a piss. So big loves to you, good sir, because I know it's not long since you passed. So
it's been a couple weeks. I mean, it gets better. I cried for 2 days, and it gets better every day. And I'll still miss her. But she was 14, man. She lived her life. She lived better than most people. I will definitely say that. She ate better than most people. But yeah, she was a big part. But yeah, I don't know if I'll get another dog. It's gonna take a while, but she was definitely a good pooch. Can I are we done, or can I ask you guys about British TV?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
No, we'll keep going. Yep, we're still recording.
Let me. I'm a big fan of British TV, and I recently, and it's probably an old show, but I recently started watching because I'm a sales guy by nature. That's what I do for work, and I was watching Phone Shop.
Oh God, yeah.
You were gonna say friggin' Phone Shop.
I love that show. Oh my God, Phone Shop is brilliant, utterly brilliant. I love you, Brits.
Yeah, I haven't watched that for a few years now, but the series I watched was I think it might have been the third series, I think. But yeah, it's a good giggle. It's weird because I never know if those sort of things will translate across the seas.
Oh, it's tremendous.
But I'm reminded of the fact that America really got Monty Python, and South Park's humour is very Monty Python, and there are big crossovers these days. But I don't know. I didn't. Where did you see Phone Shop?
When I worked at my previous company, we had a London office, and one of the sales reps there sent me a clip, and he said, "Dude, you got to check this out." And it was from like the first episode of Phone Shop. And I was addicted to it. I watched like all 4 seasons in like 2 days. It was tremendous. Nice. And I got into Peep Show. Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Good show that.
Oh my God, Mark and Jesse are my favorite. Holy God, you Brits know comedy. So good.
Have you seen the Mitchell and Webb sketch shows as well?
No,
those are good too.
There's 3. I watch IT Crowd.
Oh,
all right, yeah.
Fucking literally. The Big Bang Theory can eat a dick. Like, the IT Crowd is the show about, like, nerd men. It's the real one. Big Bang can eat my fat chode.
I've never watched an episode of Big Bang Theory.
You shouldn't. I used to think it was good before I realised that it wasn't.
That it's shite?
Yeah.
The Mitchell and Webb sketch stuff has one of my favourite ever sketches, which was a group of screenwriters who have to write a medical drama but don't want to get carried away with medical terminology. It's just this really serious thing. They're like, doctor, this man is poorly. It was like, nurse, you're a fool. This is the wrong kind of medicine for the sort of poorly that this man is. It's brilliant. It's really funny.
Even your dramas are good. Orphan Black, Luther, Broadchurch. Liked all of them. Fantastic.
That's what I'll see if there's. I'll rack my brains and see if there's any recommendations I can.
It's really good when American telly doesn't just remake our shows because it never ends well. Because they remade the IT Crowd in America with Moss.
They remade The Office too, and it was a hit series for like 10 years.
Well, by all accounts, I heard that was kind of funny though. So
it was very good.
Yeah,
even Ricky Gervais said it was good.
Oh wow! Because ours was like 2 seasons, 1 Christmas special, done.
Yeah.
And I remember I watched it all like over the space of like a day. I was off from work and I was like, I'm going to watch The Office, and just blasted through all of it and got to the end and was actually like a little bit emotional at the end.
Yep.
I was like, oh, she's come back for Tim. Oh my God!
You use that voice far too much, sir.
It's a good voice. Leave him alone.
It's an easy tone for me. I can hit it quite easily.
Yeah, he knows what he likes.
Falsetto. Maybe you should be the George Michael of this invasion. That does sound like a massive euphemism.
Well,
and on that bombshell. Thank you very much for joining us, man. Like I said, I think the world of you, and I really enjoyed those streams. So it's awesome that you've popped on the show and you've had a good old natter. And even though you and Paddy didn't know each other, I just kind of knew you'd get along.
It's tremendous.
What's your Twitter? Do you Twitter? Are you a Twitter man? What's your Twitter name?
I'm always on Twitter. It's at I love Jessicabiel. I keep it consistent, mate. It's the same as my Twitch handle. I love Jessicabiel.
See, I do the same thing. I've got the same fucking name everywhere because it's like, who are you on this? It's the same as everything. It's very easy to find.
Very consistent.
Whilst I'm a man of mystery, having a music career and then walking away from it, and then reinventing myself entirely.
As Coffee
Dark
Jesus.
Souls, man. Yes.
At Coffee Jesus. He's a good tweeter.
Right. So we will see you soon. Drop by Christian's Twitch because it's awesome. And good night, one door. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye!
Later.
Oh, you were going for the cool note. You could have joined us. We could have harmonised.